Every nut and bolt and every torque spec, every mistake and every success, from dropping the exhaust and removing the engine, transmission, and subframe, to rebuilding the replacement engine, installing new turbos, transferring every component, and that very first startup. This is the most in-depth N54 engine replacement video on the internet. Whether you're here to learn and tackle this job yourself, or just enjoy watching the process, you're in the right place. Grab a drink, get comfortable, and welcome to Day Off DIY. Alright, let's DC the battery and dump some fluids. I'm just pulling the ground. That's what we need to do. Then I'm going to take a pocket screwdriver and flip the lock back over. Now the trunk won't shut until I manually hit the switch and open the actuator back up. Alright, time to pull as much fluid as we can. That's going to take too long. Need my sucky hose. Found it. So the game plan is we're going to dump the subframe out from the bottom. So we need to drain all the fluids, drain the exhaust, start separating the subframe, pull the fan shroud. Does this thing have a little bolt? Let's knock out the bolt for the fan shroud, pull the auto trans cooler off the electric fan, pop the charge pipe off of the electric fan, pull the Torx out of the corner of the E-fan. Let's get the oil out of this thing. Let's check out this oil filter. This filter only has like 30 minutes, maybe 10 miles on it total. I haven't driven this car since it started knocking. And for those of you that are new to this channel, I'm replacing this thing because this engine developed some sort of internal knock. I cut the filter open, it was filled with glitter. I haven't discovered the cause of the engine failure yet, but we will when we tear it down after I get the old engine out. I highly recommend you do this on all your oil changes. Cut your oil filter open, especially if you have an N20 engine, an N55, an S65, an S85, engines that are prone to rod bearing failure. That's a piece of, yeah, that's like silicone or something. I'm not seeing anything really shiny in here. But for context, this is the filter that I took out of it. Absolutely smoked. So I know this engine is done. This engine is done so, or it will be in the next 100 miles. Look at that magnetic drain plug. That thing is loaded with metal. We're gonna drop the subframe with the transmission still connected to the engine. So let's start getting access to the drive shaft. The flex disc looks pretty healthy. Maybe a tiny little micro crack there. I think we can get one overnighted. Center support bearing looks really healthy. And then I forget if we gotta bust this nut loose to get this rear out. I might just drop it and then bungee cord it over against the lift arm. But either way, we're gonna yoink this flex disc and drive shaft out of there. Let's get this drain plug back in. So for those of you that don't know really what it means to drop the subframe out from the bottom with the engine, we're gonna disconnect the control arms from the knuckles or disconnect the control arms from the subframe. We're gonna literally support the engine and transmission and subframe from the bottom and lift the car off of it. That way I can pick the old engine out of the subframe, pick the new engine back into the subframe, and then lift it back up into the vehicle. I've never done this by myself before, so we're gonna figure it out. Seemed like the most logical way to do this though, because I can install the turbochargers onto the engine with the engine out of the vehicle. While we're down there, let's get this strut brace off. So we need to disconnect everything engine from the body, which means coolant hoses going to radiator. The automatic trans thermostat can stay because it's right here. As long as we have the coolant hose to the radiator disconnected, we're okay. We need to disconnect the two charge lines for the intercooler by popping these two clamps, popping those out. I'm gonna see if I can get this intercooler popped out from the bottom real quick because it'll just make things a little more simple, give me a little bit more room up here in the front end. Oh, that's so much dirt. Look at all that junk. Project this big, you gotta keep organized and stay clean. You need to use cups or plastic bags. Organize all your nuts and bolts so you know where everything goes. The more organized and clean you are, the smoother everything will be. Poor preparation makes piss poor performance. Let's make some more progress up top. I'm just gonna keep popping top, bottom, and just, I'm not following any guide. I'm just trying to do what makes sense. We're gonna be able to leave a lot of stuff connected though. Like, I think I'll be able to disconnect the wiring harness from the E-box and drop this whole thing with the wiring harness connected. See how much coolant we can get out of this bottle. And then we'll also pull the coolant reservoir, pull these vacuum reservoirs too, just to give ourselves some more room on the sides. Also yesterday I went to a local shop and had them evacuate the AC system for me. So there's no R134 in here because we're gonna have to separate the compressor from the rest of the engine. So we're good on that front. Let's get this coolant bottle out of here. Coolant float sensor. And then we have a hose connection here at the bottom. I got a drip pan underneath because it's gonna leak a little bit of coolant. Pop that guy off with the pry bar. Look at all that room we got over there now. All right, we can pop the upper radiator hose and the lower radiator hose now. Now there's 3 ways that you can pull an engine. You can drop the trans and pick the engine out from the engine bay, but you need to have adequate room in front of the car while it's on jack stands or a lift to get your cherry picker in there. You can pick the engine and the trans out together through the front, but again, you have room limitations. And then 3, you can drop the subframe out from the bottom. You don't have to worry about as much room in front of the bumper as you do with the other methods. But you need to have a hydraulic lift table or be able to get the car high enough to adequately get it out. Because this engine is turbocharged, and I'm gonna put the turbochargers on before I put the engine in, putting it in from the bottom is my best move here. Now looking at this engine bay, if I were to drop it out from the bottom, this charge pipe here going to the throttle body is gonna hit the inside of this fender well. So let's take off these diverter valves here and pull this charge pipe from throttle body to intercooler. And then the other side of this is the other end that we disconnected at the intercooler. We're gonna have to pull the power steering system too. We're gonna have to drain that because power steering system connects to a power steering cooler over by the radiator. And then this hose runs down to the pump. So I think we'll disconnect it at the cooler. That way we don't have to disturb that power steering pump hose connection. And I think everything here in the back can just fall away. We also have this line here that goes from AC compressor to evaporator. So I have to pull that there. And then this one is the service port. I'm just gonna slowly keep picking our way through. Let's get our second coolant hose pulled off here. Our lower radiator hose. And then we'll go down below and pop that off the thermostat just to give ourselves some more room in the front. The hot side to the intercooler can stay. I think we have room to dump that out with the engine. See if I can get that water pump hose from the bottom right quick. Got it. All right, another coolant hose down here that goes just below the lower radiator hose. And all that seems pretty dry. We're all disconnected over there. Did you get it, Sage? Sage is chasing flies. Where is it? Where is it? Go get him. Go get him. And then one last coolant hose attaching us to the radiator, and that is here on the auto trans cooler. It's disconnected on the trans cooler side. All right, with that DC'd, the cooling system in the front end is completely disconnected. We still have some power steering. Let's do this power steering hose while we're here too. Problem is that collar there for that power steering hose is popped out. Hope it still works, or it's gonna be difficult. I bought a tool for this, BMW power steering hose trans oil cooler line disconnect tool. So you just slip it over the quick connect and it depresses it for you. Wow, what a beautiful tool. That worked wonderfully. Let's drain out all that CHF11S. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to disconnect it at the power steering pump. I don't know. Maybe just disconnect it at the bottle. That way we don't have to take the whole bottle with it. So I'm just gonna try to disconnect this hose from the power steering bottle, and then we'll just sort of zip tie this hose over to the side of the engine and just let it hang out over there while we drop it. Okay, we'll get this brake booster vacuum hose just tucked out of the way. And then let's pull these strut braces and then disconnect this AC line. All right, let's pop this AC line off. This is compressor to expansion valve, which goes into firewall. And there's gonna be a little bit of pressure in there, and that's because I had it evacuated, but there's still some dye in the system, and I drove it yesterday, so the compressor, there we go. The compressor put a little pressure in the system. Put a paper towel in there, keep it clean. And then this little service port here is also attached to that hose. So let's pop this clip off. And then this AC hose and the service port can drop with the engine. Then there's another heater hose here. Ah, got it. It's that hard pipe connection. So we'll need to pop that hose too. This one here. Yeah, it goes to that hard pipe that runs across the subframe. I can reach it right now. Got it. We still need to disconnect the steering column down to the rack and pinion at the subframe. And then we also need to go over here to the E-box, see if we can get the harnesses disconnected. Let's mess around with this for a little bit. Slide the locks. All right, so we got one harness here with the ground, another harness here that has the power. Then we need to disconnect the charging cable for the alternator. Then I'm just gonna put these nuts back on here, cover this up, pop this ground strap over here by the washer. And then we're gonna start disconnecting these harnesses. Luckily, everything's pretty keyed, so it's pretty impossible to mix it up. Another thought too is I could remove the entire E-box. Let's just unplug. If I can get this piece of this harness out, I can take this whole DME and flop it over. This is my only part where I'm getting stuck. If I can get this latch off of this DME connector. Okay, entire harness is disconnected there. Whew, never done that before. All right, we got another AC line we need to disconnect down here. This is overwhelming. This is a lot, but I believe in myself. I can do this. Now we need to pop this oil cooler off. Whew. Let's get more caffeinated. I think it's an Allen. No, it's a 13. Because the oil cooler bolts into the fender well, we gotta DC these oil cooler lines here. We're gonna be replacing the oil cooler too, because it's filled with metal. We don't wanna put all that new metal into our new engine. It's a guaranteed way to ruin our new engine is to reuse the oil cooler and try to flush it. There's just no way we can realistically flush it well enough. I got some used oil cooler lines we're gonna swap in too. All right, let's go up and start working on drive shaft suspension. Ah, it's not neutral. It's okay, I know a hack. Bust the shift selector loose. Bust this 13 loose. Park, reverse, neutral. Okay, time to release the center support bearing. I'm gonna mark where the center support bearing is mounting to the unibody so I can get the position when I reinstall it. All right, I think we can just like bungee it. Yeah, we should bungee it up to the side. I don't want to bust that rear CV joint loose if I don't have to. I don't want to disturb it. That's nice right there. All right, now I need to do sway bar links and sway bar, control arms, steering column, and then fuel line. I think I also need to do evap up to the purge valve. So do this one, plus ride height sensor. Okay, those will swing to the front. Oh, we gotta do tie rods too. I probably should have pulled the wheels first. Tie rods out, wheels off. getting this lower control arm out. And then I'm putting, disconnect this ride height sensor. Come on. As long as the tie rod is underneath the control arms, it'll be able to drop out. Normally I would bust the steering column loose from the bottom, but on this E90 it's pretty buried. I have pretty good access from the top, so let's bring her back down and then let's do fuel line, evap line, steering column. Right down there in the light, you can see the E-Torx bolt. That's what sandwiches the steering column to the rack. I'm gonna get down there, rip that bolt out, separate that. Bolt is out. Okay, that's off. I need to make sure that that doesn't spin, and I gotta remember not to spin the rack and pinion because the clock spring for the steering wheel controls can become out of sync of the rack and pinion. So that means when you turn it all the way to the lock, the steering wheel might not be synced up. That ribbon cable in there can snap. I'm gonna take some masking tape here. Rope would probably be better, but this will be fine. This one right back here is the evap line from fuel tank up to the purge valve. So I'm gonna get back there and DC that one. And you can just think of it as, you know, disconnecting every body system from the engine, right? Fuel tank, evap goes up to the purge valve. Now we need to do fuel tank up to the high pressure pump. Now, the fitting for it is kind of buried under the intake manifold. I'm gonna go up real quick and see if there's access for another soft line down underneath the unibody. If there's not one there, I'll pull the throttle body and pull that hose down there. I'm hoping there's a fuel line connection underneath here. How does this thing come off? Okay, fuel line there. Evap is still okay. We got that disconnected just fine. Future reference though, we could have done it there. All right, and then we need to do fuel line here. Get our oil drain pan. Safety glasses are probably a good idea. Yeah, that was a good idea. Ooh, ground strap too. If I were to turn the key on or put the key in the car, this thing's gonna spray fuel. Even if you just open the door with the battery connected. So drive shaft is disconnected. We're gonna pull the transmission cross member. Cats are gonna come down with the subframe. It wouldn't be a bad idea to disconnect the O2 sensors here. Also do these lower bell housing bolts. Yeah, it'd be a good idea for us to like pop the oil level sensor, do these lower bell housing bolts because it'll be hard to do while the subframe is down on the hydraulic table. Trans lines can stay. O2 sensors, there's probably disconnect just in case. That way I can spin the O2 sensors out of the cats. These if we just tuck up. But yeah, fuel evap is good. Trans lines are staying on the car. That harness is gonna go with. Engine mounts we can disconnect once we get it down. Tie rods are disconnected. Control arms are disconnected here. We'll take the subframe bolts out. Oil cooler's DC'd. Control arms are disconnected over here. Tie rod's disconnected. Charge pipe's gonna come straight down. Trans cooler hose is DC'd there. Trans cooler's gonna come down with the subframe. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. So let's do these bell housing bolts. I'll do this one, and this one. These three, and then we'll be in good shape. We can do these bell housing bolts once we put the subframe back in the car. Okay, I should probably replace these bell housing bolts. I don't have these aluminum ones. All right, I think we're good, dude. Before I get under there with the lift table, I'm gonna bust loose the trans cross member. The engine can hold it up just fine. All right, we need to get this hydraulic lift table underneath and see how high it can get. Then we need to lower the subframe to match it. This is the first N54 engine I've ever removed. I've done Mini Coopers, I've done N55s. Actually, I only think I've done N55s for BMW engine. No, I've done a M62. That was in a shop. This is in my garage. See how high this thing will go? And let's get it lined up with the subframe. Had to modify this lift cart because normally the handle is fixed upright. Okay, that's how high it goes. It's gonna be tight. I can crib it up so it catches the bell housing. And then once I bring it down, I'm gonna have to put like a dolly with wheels underneath the trans cross member to prop that up. Okay, I know roughly where it's gonna be. So let's drop it down a little bit. Okay. We just need to go up and kind of see where it catches. All right, I think I'm gonna block the center so it doesn't put stress on the oil pan. I can block this front here. I need a little thinner on this front block. Like 1 inch, 2x1. It's pretty perfect. Let's take out the subframe bolts, which look like 18s. We'll have to come down and see if the trans wants to hang and make it fall backwards. I should capture the bell housing if it wants to sag back. All right, moment of truth here. She's falling back a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, it's DC'd. Now let's try to go up with the lift. Just a touch. Oh, shift linkage. Shifter cable. I'm not nervous, you're nervous. Woo, that shifter was holding it up. But that's okay. I needed to block up that rear more, but that's okay, I can fix that once I pick the engine off. I should release it from the front rather than the lift in the back so I can see. May or may not be pooping my pants right now. It looks clear up top. Oh my, whoo, Lord. We don't like that. Come on, lift. Don't be jumpy on me. We can't have that. Whoo. Oh, that wasn't sketchy at all. We did it. We did it. We got the engine and trans out. Woo! With the belt on and all the charge pipes and everything. Well, first thing I need to try to do is crib up this bell housing a little more. Get the weight more forward. Oh, that's perfect. Got that cribbed up with a 4x4 and a 2x4. We have really good capture on the 4x4 in the center. And we almost have capture here in the front. So once we do pull the trans off, this thing will be able to settle forward, and I'm sure it'll probably catch on this 1x6 and this 4x4 combo. All right, it's time to start tearing this engine down so we can get that engine over here into the subframe. These clamps only have like a couple 100 miles on them, so I'm gonna try to save all the parts from this job in plastic cups for organization. This pipe seals into the turbos with these big, thick O-rings, and then those big band clamps sandwich them down together. Okay, so this will be for the rear cat. Okay, that should slide out. Nice. These cats are absolutely gone. I get cat efficiency codes rarely, but I do need some cats for this thing. And for all you guys out there, they're gonna say, put catless downpipes on it, catless downpipes. I live in California and I'm trying to smog this thing so I can sell it to somebody when I'm done with it legally. And putting catless downpipes on it's gonna make that more difficult. Let's yoink this O2 sensor out of it as well so it doesn't get caught. All right, little bit of progress. And now that these cats are removed, I can go down through here into there. Inside that hole, there's 6 of these bolts there, 17mm head, and they go through the flex plate into the torque converter. We're going to rotate the engine over at the crank, spin it till we can find one of the bolts, rip it out, spin it, rip it out, and keep doing that until we separate the torque converter from the flex plate. I'm going to attempt to put this thing up at a better working height. We got the lift table up in height. I'm going to throw a 22mm for the crank bolt. Okay, I got one accessible through there. Got to get the right extension length combination here. I don't have that much room. I'm just using the breakaway torque on my electric ratchet to get those out because they're factory Loctited. I'm also trying to be conscious of what would happen to this subframe and engine if this hydraulic jack did fail. And this subframe is coming down with force. My knees are going to be underneath it, so I'm trying to make my attack from over here. That way if it comes down, you know, I can get out from underneath it. Can't trust hydraulics, and this thing isn't physically locked. I don't see a lock on it. It would have been so much easier if I did this before, but I didn't. That should be separated now. Let's see if I can get video proof. Yep, see the flex plates moving, but the torque converter behind it was staying put. Sage, go on. I need you out of here. All right, we gotta sketchily bring this hydraulic table back down again because I need to get my transmission jack underneath the trans. And this handle is very sensitive. Last time it started jumping on me, started bouncing. See how sensitive this thing is? You can go south so fast. Time to bust out the old trans jack. I haven't used this thing in a while. A little hesitant to put the trans jack straight on the plastic pan, but you know what? I'm replacing the pan, so it'll be okay. We should drain this thing though. You know what? No, I'm not gonna drain it. I'm just gonna do it my way. I'm gonna bust this trans line, these trans lines loose, and whatever fluid we lose, we lose. I also need to buy these trans O-rings. No, it'll be fine. We're not gonna lose that much fluid. There's a little trans line bracket over here I need to break loose too. Give myself a little bit more flexibility with these trans lines. There we go. Now we can flop those out of the way. I think I have some trans sealing plugs. Let's take these O-rings out. Nice, that's a perfect fit. Slide that up and throw a glove over those. Okay, now those lines are out of the way. This is the wiring harness connection for the transmission. Just lift that tab, quarter turn it. This seal should also be replaced when you do a transmission service. I need to see if that ZF kit that I got came with it. But now we just take this wiring harness, unclip it from the transmission assembly, and then it'll stay connected to this bracket over here. We'll pull that, and then I also already removed the bell housing bolts on the bottom of the transmission when I had it up in the vehicle. So other than that, we're good to go. Now we can get our trans jack underneath. Lube this thing up. And this is how I remove the transmission on my E46 with this Harbor Freight trans jack. That's pretty perfectly flat. We want to keep the pitch locked in. Okay, it's looking pretty centered. Comes with a little ratchet strap. Now we install the ratchet strap. Okay, now we bring our ratchet strap up. We're now strapped. Now we rip out the bell housing bolts. This is a E18. This one has the bracket for the catalytic converter on it. Since these are aluminum, I think I need to buy some new ones. That's out. Now we got like an E16 here, an E12 for the starter, E12 for the starter, E12 over here. That trans wants to come out. I like it. All right, wish me luck. Hopefully the engine settles okay. I think it's gonna wanna tip forward anyway, so. Nice. That just come out perfect. Ah, torque converter came out. Hey, it didn't bleed everywhere. Interesting, why is the torque converter still on? I took all the hardware out. Did I miss a bolt? I should have just taken the, no, it was just caught at an angle. Okay. Well, I could have just taken the trans out with the torque converter. Just a little bit of engine oil in there, but it looks like the pump on the torque converter is okay. Well, trans looks decent. This is, smells a little stinky like trans fluid, but I think we maybe just lost a little bit. Either way, I think this trans might have been low because normally when the torque converter stays on the engine, it spills its guts pretty good. All right, let's get this transmission out of the way. And now we have just an engine and a flex plate and all the rest of the junk. Next day, I just got some parts ordered up. I got a new Mickey Mouse coolant hose. I also bought a full serpentine belt kit, including idler pulley, tensioner pulley, all that good stuff. I also ordered up a new starter. That way the new owner of this vehicle doesn't ever have to take the intake manifold off again. I also ordered a new power steering bottle and 5 liters of CHF 11S so we can do a filter and flush. And I also bought the sealing sleeve for the mechatronics on the transmission. Let's keep picking away at stripping down this engine. I'm gonna start with removing this front intake for the front turbo. That thing's got a lot of oil on the backside of it. And our turbo installation kit comes with a new seal here. Bearing still feels good in the turbo. Yeah, this tensioner looks tired. And the one that came on the new engine looks pretty tired too. We'll refresh all of it. That way the new owner doesn't have to take the belt off. I did replace this belt not long ago though. So off the AC compressor, we have one line running through the front over the serpentine belt and then running straight back here. So this thing is like super on top. So I also believe that we have to pull the AC compressor in order to get the alternator out. So let's do these two next. Okay, so we have AC compressor and then the bracket. So we need to remove the AC compressor from the bracket first. Nice. I just realized that my new used engine has the alternator bracket already on it, which is nice. I don't have to clean the old one up. How much time do I want to spend trying to clean up the rest of this block? I really don't want to spend any time doing it. I'll spend a little bit of time on it, okay? Just a little bit. All right, here's what we're gonna do. Little Zep degreaser. Just because this is the last opportunity to clean this stuff. And then just take a detail brush and chuck it in my electric drill. That's how you use a whole can of brake cleaner right there. Boy, she's looking good though. I'm happy I did that. I was gonna slap this alternator on, but it needs cleaning up too. I just don't wanna get it wet. I'm gonna try to brush some of the big stuff off the outside real quick. All right, I tried to clean her up. Trying not to break this alternator though, putting any liquids inside of it. It's just one of those things you can't really clean. I'm gonna keep that loose till I get the AC compressor bracket on there. There's little dowels that this bracket fits into the block with. Let's do these first. All right, we're swapping, baby. I'm gonna throw the compressor on for now, but I'll probably have to take it off later, or at least take off this front AC line just to give myself more room. This thing's a little dirty too. Cleaning all this stuff sucks. I don't like that part. All right, let's clean this thing up. If you're doing a job this big, you might as well buy a whole case of brake cleaner. Because if you're cleaning stuff like I am, you're gonna need it. What? What was that? Somebody over torqued it. Well, I blew out the threads on that bracket. Yes, I did. Good thing I got a spare bracket. I guess that's a reminder to be gingerly with your electric ratchets. This 13 millimeters like a M8. It ain't that big. And I just blew out the threads. Guess we're using the other bracket. There you go. Pulled the threads out of the bracket. Lesson learned. I'm gonna go pressure wash it. Should have done that earlier. Okay, don't go blowing out any more threads, Alec. She's looking a little bit more complete. Let's work on the oil cooler next and get this tape off here, get that buttoned up. I was missing one of the E-Torx bolts, and so I need to rob one off of this one, pull this oil cooler first. I got the hardware cleaning and the ultrasonic parts cleaner. We already have the gasket surface prepped up. That was from our YouTube live. We got a genuine BMW oil cooler gasket. I've been having trouble with aftermarket oil filter housings and oil cooler gaskets, so I switched back to genuine BMW. Scrub this out one last time. Comment down below, tell me what you think this gasket looks like. Just cleaned up the back of the mating surface. 16 Newton meters. And then throw our oil cooler line bolt back up there, keep it safe. All right, one more piece done. All right, let's start on the hard part. Stripping this harness and old engine apart. I'm gonna get the electronic, well, it's electro-pneumatic, right? Because we have electrical connectors and vacuum lines. Let's get this whole heat shield and wastegate solenoid assembly out of here. Disconnect our vacuum line off the bank 1 wastegate. Bank 2 is disconnected. It's a little E8s. Now, bolting down the valve cover is something that I have to do last because I have to swap the old valve cover onto the new engine, but I also need the valve cover off to confirm timing, and I can't confirm timing until I put this flex plate on that engine, and I can't put this flex plate on that engine till I get that engine off the engine stand. So that means I need to leave this valve cover loose and undone until the very end. But we still need to take all the components off of it and start disconnecting the wiring harness. These are brand new Aldor ignition coils too. These things are perfect. These are also brand new NGK spark plugs we're gonna be reusing. Wow, there's a lot of junk in there. Look at all that sand and junk that came out of there. Just kidding, they're Bosch spark plugs. Also got some brand new Vitesco Index 12 injectors in here. I gotta swap all those over too. I got new Teflon seals and new decoupling elements for them too. Okay, ground straps next. Boom. Now because this harness just wants to flop down like this, I'm thinking if we can unplug, it's the best way to flop it, you know what I'm saying? Oh, it's for sure this side. Because the name of the game is like disconnecting as little as possible at each time. So if we follow this harness here, we got like coolant temp sensor, oil pressure sensor, and then down here to the bottom Vanos solenoid, high pressure fuel sensor. Like that harness is loosey-goosey. Now the top of this engine is literally almost harness free. Let's bang out these injectors. These injector lines to the main fuel rail have always been a little sticky. So luckily with my new used engine, I got all new injector lines. Well, new used injector lines. Still trying to do this as cost efficient as possible. I ain't made of money, but I'm also trying to do all the while you're in there type repairs. That way whoever buys this thing won't have to tear this engine apart, and it's gonna have new injectors, new ignition coils, new starter, all that good stuff. Intake valves will be cleaned to carbon. It's gonna be dialed. Timing chain, guides, and then all these lines are the same except for this rear one. I don't need to remove all these. I'll leave them busted loose though. I'm just gonna take the fuel rail off. This PCV valve is still good, so let's try to save this clip. This thing's new. Many pocket screwdrivers makes this job easy. These clips are super fragile. Oh, I didn't notice that this side was broken. This hose here is air intake to the rear turbo. Let's get that pulled off. A lot of Earl getting back into that engine. Must be coming through the crankcase ventilation system or something. All right, she's looking a little more naked. Now right here is where the evap line from the fuel tank runs up to the purge valve. The purge valve takes those gasoline vapors and injects it back into the intake stream here at the throttle body to be burned off. So we don't need to disconnect this. It'll stay attached to the intake. I'm not sure what this sensor is here. There's one here at the throttle body, which I believe is manifold absolute pressure sensor, or this is the pressure sensor. I'm not positive, but next let's pull off the intake manifold. 11 millimeter. We have one bolt in the front, the rest are studs. I like to pull the studs too. It's like an E6. Just makes removal and installation of the intake manifold way easier. We will have a plug for the throttle body. Duh, we have this big harness thing. There's this black harness box that clips up onto these two prongs off the bottom of the intake, and I just lever it off. This one's a little worn, so it levers a little easier. Sometimes you gotta put some real effort into it. And our plug for our throttle body. Nice. Man, there's a lot of oil getting into this engine. There's a little bit of carbon, not much. I did the carbon cleaning probably, I don't know, 5,000 miles before this. But this thing is also eating a lot of oil. And pull our pipe off the vacuum pump. This supplies vacuum to the brake booster as well as vacuum to the turbo solenoids. Now we get into the real spaghetti mess. So alternator cable is going to go through this clip from the starter. So we could pull the starter, get this stuff out of the way. I'm going to mark the starter wire and yeah, we'll get the starter out of here. I already forgot what this one goes to. Purge valve. I got to label some of these. Okay, high pressure fuel pump, low pressure sensor. Okay, and then I'll just keep this fuel line attached to the high pressure pump. I'll pull this fuel line out of its clip back here. And then I think the first thing I'll swap over is just the high pressure fuel pump. Swap it from there over to there. I think this line and everything can stay attached. I think so. Let's do the starter first. So there's a bolt that goes through the bell housing into the starter there. That one's already removed. And there's one lower one here that goes from starter to block. It's Bosch. I doubt it's original because most starters fail on these things like every 100K. So I have a choice to make. I was having a hard time with this high pressure fuel pump before because I was smelling gasoline. When I would run the car, I would just park it. And I feel like this scaling down here underneath here was from gasoline pooling up, because it doesn't look like standard oil sludge. It looks like oil that has had a solvent on top of it. So when I bought this engine, I got a used high pressure fuel pump. Maybe we can double check the number on it and see like what version of it the new one is. After some research, we need to pull this pump out to get the production date and the revision number off of it. I don't have enough information yet and I can't see the part number. This is the high pressure fuel pump I got with the engine included. And here you can see 33936. And talking to ChatGPT here, 33936 corresponds to the last part numbers. It's one of the later revised Continental Siemens high pressure pump. It's not the end all be all final revision, but it's pretty close here to the end. So let's pull the old pump out, compare it to this number, see which one has the newest revision out of this line, and then we'll run with that pump. This does have the updated low pressure fuel sensor, so I will be swapping that out to whatever pump I use. Okay, so that one, and then this eTorx, and then the pump hardware. Now, I don't have long, thin Allens, which I believe you need to get down here to these Allens, but I do have long, thin Torx. So let's find one of these that works. If I recall, I got them out last time with these. It's a little sloppy, but I think it'll work. I'll have to take this line off because it's getting in the way of my access. All right, I don't know if this is an aftermarket pump, but we have 32025, so let's look that up. Looking at the old pump, I don't have any numbers on there that correspond to any of these last 3 digits of the high pressure fuel pump numbers in regards to revisions or anything. Based off the color of it too, and the previous owner, I'm going to assume that this thing is aftermarket, and at least this one is one of the later revisions, so we'll swap the O-ring over from here to here, and I think we're gonna run this pump. Worst comes to worst, if it fails or anything, I can crack the intake manifold back and replace it pretty easy. It's not a difficult job. Plus there's no space glitter inside this one. I believe I replaced this O-ring too, so should be fresh. Let's mock up our new used pump on the new used engine. I almost forgot, but there's a keyway inside here. Let me show you real quick. Right there. You need to have the drive gear on the pump lined up with that for installation. It's not too hard to eyeball it though. All right. And we can throw this hold down bolt back in. You know what these lines remind me of? Are those toys you would play with in the doctor's office when you were a little kid, where you slide the little beads up and down the little metal poles. Every time it falls down, I chase it back up. It reminds me of that. That way, we retain my updated fuel pressure sensor on the low side. Clip our fuel hose back in, and then let's snug up this 17 mil. I feel more confident with this high pressure fuel pump than I do the other one. All right, we got the crank sensor unplugged and marked. Bank 2 knock, bank 1. Let's pull these knocks out and flop this harness out of the way a little more. I think it's gonna start to fall out. E10s. Oh, this sucker wants to come off. All it's held on right here is with this little bracket. Let's just pull that bracket. Watch this. Gadoosh! Look at that. Yeah! That's how you get the harness to flop out the way. Let's go. We're making progress. Look at this, folks. Look at this harness down here. See, now that that's unwrapped, all we got is water pump, Vanos solenoids, cam sensors. Yeah, we can almost get this entire harness off. And then when we put it back on, we'll wrap it around this way. Follow the same thing we did. This is fun. I'm having fun. Oh yeah. Now literally all we have is ground, water pump, thermostat. It's gonna be hard to get those out with the engine the way that it is. Maybe I can just pull the water pump. So this is the coolant flange hose from the cylinder head over to the back side of the thermostat. I'm just gonna pop this one just to get myself a little bit more room down here. We're gonna be replacing it too. The water pump and thermostat are new. Let's try to sneak this water pump and thermostat assembly out while it's still connected. When I remember, it's like one E12 up here. And I'm hoping I might be able to access the others from down below here. So the water pump thermostat should be disconnected. Pop the hard pipe connection right here. Now I just need to get this hose disconnected from where it goes into the water pump. But the hose clamp is facing down. It's not the most efficient way of doing it, but my situation is a little unique. Now I got the T-stat connector, pompa de agua. All right, we got one final bolt till this whole harness comes off. And it's this little aluminum E12 that holds this ground strap for the harness here. And it is covered in grease. Check this out. Let's go. It's time to finally pull out these turbos, I think. Now we have a oil feed for both turbos and a coolant feed for both turbos. And we also have a coolant drain and an oil drain. So I'm trying to figure out what hoses I can disconnect to get these things out in one complete piece. All right, so that's coolant feed. This line here runs behind the turbo and the heat shield, so I need to try to DC that one to get them out whole too. How do I get these out complete? Maybe I just pull the coolant pipe, take it all out, even pull the hardware for the heat shields. This thing just comes out complete. Pull the drain hoses. Yeah, I'm just gonna dissect these coolant hoses and just mark them. Top side, bank 1, coolant. I'm just gonna go through and try to mark them. I'm also gonna have to use real OEM or schematics and figure out what length bolts go in what spots, because there's all these little Torx bolts, but they're differing lengths between the different connections. Last time I did turbos on this engine, I mixed them up and I had an oil leak and I had to take it all apart again. So try not to make that mistake this time. Yeah, this is not gonna come out there. So this one, can't tell which ones go to oil and which ones go to coolant. Pretty sure these lowers are oil drain. All right, so I assume coolant in, coolant out, or coolant in, coolant out. I'm not sure which way it flows. Man, I think I need to take this engine mount bracket out too. Maybe I just do this on the engine stand once I pick it off. I'll have way better access on the engine stand. Let's switch gears for a second. To distract us from those turbos, I did get a box of new parts. I got even more coming on top of this. Belt, Mickey Mouse coolant flange hose, power steering bottle, new starter, and a belt idler pulley kit, and some CHF11S. Let's throw these tensioners and pulleys on. Now this right here is the Achilles heel of most N-series engines, and it's this tensioner. The N54 one isn't as bad, but like I've talked about in previous videos, this spring sags out and causes the tensioner pulley to sag forward. And then the belt walks off, it gets chewed up by all the pulleys, and then the crank pulley scoops it up and eats it through the crank pulley. That's why we got this new crank guard on here. Now this is a steel bolt. The other N51, N52 tensioners are a different design. 40 Newton meters for the M10 by 110 bolt. All right, this big one goes directly below the tensioner and it comes with this little dust shield. Got to install that on the back side with the lip facing the back side of the pulley. And this one goes directly below the vacuum pump. Nice one, Alec. I broke it, dude. No way. Oh, that sucks. I broke it, dude. That's trash. Here's the original. Yeah, it's noisy. I gotta order a new one. Here's the new one. No noise. Oh, that sucks. It's all good. It happens. Well, let's put the non-broken one on. On ISTA, the torque spec for all of the pulleys is 38 or 40, so I'm just gonna do 40. Maybe I'll press the bearing out, put on the new one. And this was torqued at factory. Let's get this new starter mounted up. Now we had one steel bolt, so I'm gonna keep that steel bolt for the bell housing. The bolt kit comes with 2 aluminum stretch bolts. This is an OE starter. And then torque spec for the little baby, M10 by 30 and 20 Newton meters, and then 90. I bought this wrench just for starters. It is a gear wrench 11 millimeter with a fixed skinny 12-point spline and then a splined ratcheting end. And when I take the intake manifolds off, I sneak this back there and break this one loose. It is a lifesaver if you're a technician and doing a lot of them. I'll be honest, I never used to stretch these bolts. I just throw them in snug because it's so difficult to get a angled torque wrench down in there when you just got the intake manifold cracked. 20 Newton meters, 90 degrees. I'll throw this on here just for safekeeping. Let's bang out this crank pulley, swap it over to our new one. What's really interesting is this crank can go on any way. There's no index on it. I find it really interesting that there's no keyway on the crank pulley, but that means it's a crank pulley and not a, well, I mean, it could be a harmonic balancer as well, but that just means that the flex plate and the crankshaft are really well balanced. I do have the old crank pulley too, but there's no rubber on this thing. It's just straight metal, so I don't see how it could go bad. And this is the last time my crank guard will be exposed. So again, shout out to Marcel for sending me out this Mala Industries crank guard. First time using one. Little extra protection for the next owner. This belt ain't gonna spit though, not with a fresh belt, sealed oil filter housing, and new tensioner. Let's yoink this power steering pump. Oh, it was staying up on the power steering pump. Power steering pump was holding it up. I don't like that. I got some lumber for cribbing. Gonna go here, pry bar off the oil pump. Keep the engine up. Didn't think there was that much stress on the pulley. Oh, there's one more line I forgot. Oh, and I just poured power steering fluid all over myself. Is that resting on the, it's resting on the trans line. Don't like that. All right, that's good there. Power steering bloodbath. I'm gonna try to break the fitting loose for this high pressure side and leave it attached to the subframe. Take this thing outside, pressure wash it, and that way I can just leave the high pressure line attached to the subframe the whole time. The old large diameter idler pulley off the old engine was like brand new. So luckily I don't have to buy a new pulley. I'm gonna swap it over, about to torque it up. All right, back to the old engine. The trans lines are back here. They're disconnected from the oil pan right here. So this side's loose. If we disconnect this here in the front, the lines to the cooler up here can all stay on the subframe when we pick the old engine out. Okay, I gotta continue on these turbos because once we pick this thing out, I'm not gonna have the engine stand immediately available yet, so I'm gonna have to drop it onto a tire. And when I do that, I don't know if the engine will tilt to this side or the other, and we might not have good access to these turbos. Taking off these lines sucks. It's not fun, but let's keep going. Ugh. There's one eBay turbo. Bearing has some side-to-side play. There was a slight oil leak on this BMW while I was running these new turbos. And I think it's from this junction right here for oil feed. So I have to keep a very close eye on this when we reseal it. All right, in order to successfully get this turbo out, I really think I gotta pull this engine mount bracket. So I'm gonna pull the nut here, lever it up, and then block out the oil pan here and the block on this piece of wood, and then pull the engine mount bracket. All right, I got some more blocking. Big ass pry bar. I like that. Yeah, I don't think this turbo job is supposed to be done with this engine mount in place, engine mount bracket. Now we got some nice access to the turbos, or to the turbo. Okay, that line is loose. So that's oil drain. Still have both of our coolant lines here that need to come out. And then oil feed up top. Progress, baby. All right. Now we got what looks like coolant drains. And to pull the turbos, we can leave oil feeds and oil drains in and coolant drains. So the only lines we need to pull are the coolant feeds. Everything else we can just break loose from the turbo. I gotta be really nice to these lines on the removal because I don't have new lines. I didn't want to spend $1,000 on new turbo lines when I replaced these not that long ago. Pretty sure I replaced every single line but one last time I did this job. What was leaking here? It looks like it was leaking from here, right? Because we got wet on the bolt here, but this whole sealing surface in the back looks pretty dry. And then this connection here looks a little wet, so we'll need to focus on this one. So last time I did the turbos on this N54, I bought some aftermarket replacement lines because the oil lines were like $300 a piece. And so these are the lines off of my old N54. One of the aftermarket ones did not fit properly, so I had to reuse the original one and replace the O-ring. Now I can use the oil drain lines that came on my used engine, but chances are they are original. So while I decide, I need to get all the old bearing material out of these oil lines because they had space glitter running through these drains. And if I weren't to clean them, I would reintroduce that glitter back into this used engine. So I'm gonna throw these in the ultrasonic parts cleaner and buzz them for a while with the O-rings removed. That way we can try to get all that junk out of there, flush them with some brake cleaner. I buzzed off the coolant pipe with the 4 E-Torques. Now I'm gonna bust this oil line loose. Both these oil lines actually. And this should be the pressurized oil feed. And I wanna, yeah, that O-ring looks pretty flat. That had to have been where our leak was coming from, I think. While I got the ultrasonic parts cleaner going, I'm gonna chuck these in there too, because I think these are small enough to fit. Based off all the goop on this line, this was for sure the culprit. So we'll be sure to give it some extra attention before installation. All right, last thing we need to pull off before we yank this thing out is the old flex plate, because it's got a nice little pin holder. It's not wallered out like my other one, so we're gonna swap this onto the other engine. Bunch of T60s. Nice. And then this flex plate has a dowel, so it centers on there. We got a leak at the rear main. Yep, she leaky. And then also this right there is the little notch that the locking pin for the timing kit goes into. So that's why we're gonna swap this one over. And check out all that wetness right there. That's a confirmed rear main seal. All that wetness in there. Actually, it doesn't matter that this thing is leaking because this is the old engine. So we're not gonna do this one. We're gonna do the other engine. All right, cherry picker set up. I got my chain attached to the tow hook that's threaded in the cylinder. There's a little hole in the block right back here next to where the starter goes up. Threw a big bolt through there with some big washers and a big nut. So we got our chain. I just need to put my leveler on, see if the cherry picker will come over and fit. What we'll do is extend this out. We don't need it 2 tons. We could do 1 ton, no problem. Get our leveler. Okay, looking good. Put a little bit of tension. Okay, now what we're gonna do is bust this engine mount loose, cover up my messy hair, 16 mil. And off she comes. Engine mount nut there on the table. Okay, and then I wanna rob the oil level sensor off this thing while we still have it up. What I'm gonna do here is put the engine into this dolly with an old tire, and this is gonna support it while I take some stuff off of it. I'd like to get it to settle nicely, so we might need to like crib it so I can try to get this engine to sit straight up. Let's bring her down, see how she wants to settle in. It's just gonna fully flop over. It's gonna wanna fall off the dolly. So we need another method. I don't mind it sitting like really sideways, but I need it relatively up and down. That should be money. Oh yeah, I'd say that's pretty dang good. Let's go slack and see what it looks like. It's not gonna be forever. It's gonna be temporary. If it slips and falls here, the chain will catch it. That's really sturdy. Yeah, that's really sturdy. I'm happy with that. And then we'll just drop her down. Okay. Old engine is out. Now we gotta get this subframe outside, get her cleaned up. But this is a subframe with no engine. What, you want the smoke? You want the smoke? All right, I need to get the injectors out of my old engine into this new one. So what I'm gonna do is remove the valve cover so I have a little bit more room to work over, and then we're gonna borescope the cylinders and then pull those injectors, swap them into here. This injector and spark plug valley is pretty dirty and I want to spray it out, but I need the valve cover sealed on nice and tight. And I need spark plugs and injectors in those holes so nothing bleeds down into the cylinders. So I know it's dirty, but we have to live with it for now until we get the valve cover, spark plugs, and injectors secured. So I put these plastic bore brushes down all the injector holes and spark plug holes to keep debris out. I also bought a new bore scope. I believe the brand is Teflon. I bought it on Amazon. I needed one. I had one that connected to my phone and the quality was just pretty poor. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't want to screen record, so I'm gonna set you guys up with a good view of the screen here, and I'll try to get this screen static, and then we'll go down and look at all of them. Okay, this is spark plug hole number 6. And really I'm just looking for debris that I can possibly suck out before I fully assemble this thing. So the piston's definitely dirty, but the piston isn't down yet, so we can't see that one. Here's number 5. No debris in there. And the cylinder walls look perfect. Like, I bore scoped it briefly when I bought this engine in SoCal, and the cylinder walls looked really, really good. Again, no major debris, just some carbon on the piston. No piston wash. This looks good. Cross hatching looks phenomenal. That's number 4. Number 3, again, carboned up piston. Cross hatching, beautiful. Like, so nice. Here's number 2. Not seeing any ring wash. Cross hatching looks great. And number 1, piston is up, but I don't see anything down there. I do want to rotate it because I want to know what that is. I want to take a closer look at 1 and 6. So I'm just going to rotate the engine, cylinder number 1, and it doesn't look like a crack. I don't know what it is, but look at that cross hatching. Little baby wear there. Not really like a gouge though. I wanted to see if that was like a crack or something, but that would be a super severe crack. It's probably a little mark from my screwdriver when I was looking for TDC with the screwdriver in the cylinder. And then number 6, looking really nice. Beautiful crosshatch. Little bit of oil there. All right, we're at the old motor, and let's see about getting these injectors out. I'm gonna start in the rear at 6 and work my way up to the front so I don't have to put the injector codes into the computer. This bolt was missing or damaged when I did these injectors, so there's just a standard bolt in there. Oh my Lord, that's tight. Why are you so tight? Oh. Now I do have the seal installer, decoupling elements, and all the things that we will need in order to properly reuse these injectors. Probably have to slide hammer it. Luckily, the man that gave me this car, Mr. Anthony Donate, gave me a slide hammer to go with it. Okay, boy, that thing is dirty. Woo, we gotta clean that sucker off. And we need to replace that Teflon seal because that thing is smoked. This should be all of the injector parts that I have. We have new decouplers. We have, I think this is like a seal installer, and our new seals. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get the old seals removed, but first let's get a clean rag. Let's wipe all this junk off. Pop this decoupler off. I don't exactly know how to remove this, but I'm gonna give it a quick Google. So according to ISTA, you're supposed to use this special tool 130191 to cut the Teflon seal off. I don't know how necessary that is. And then this is the cone that I purchased to slide the new Teflon seal on. And then you're supposed to slide the seal on and then use compression tool number 1, compression tool number 2, and then compression tool number 3 to get it down to the correct size for installation. And then once the engine heats up, it swells back up. I have the elements, I have the cone tool, and I have the Teflon seals, but I don't have the compression sleeves. FCP Euro has them, and they're about 30 bucks a piece. So I think I'm gonna pull the trigger on them just in case, so I know that these things are gonna seal right. And then we'll work on the turbos and other stuff, and we'll have to do these injectors once parts show up. Here's what the compression sleeves look like. Number 1, number 2, number 3, about 30 bucks a piece. You know, I don't really want to buy the tool, but if it also works for N55s, then it might be a worthy investment. I also want to make sure that if I'm doing this, I do it right the first time so I don't have to go back in there, or I don't ruin those Vitesco injectors. All right, let's pull these turbo drain lines. Whoa, that was so loose. Maybe I loosened it. Long ones. All right, we got blocked, blocked, blocked. All these are blocked. Oil drains blocked off. I'm gonna take some degreaser. This is my last opportunity to clean this thing. Spray my brush. And again, I'm using a chopped off detail brush on an electric drill. And that is how you use a whole can of brake cleaner. All right, I got the coolant pipe and the coolant turbo lines soaking in the ultrasonic parts cleaner. Those are about ready. And while those were running, I spent probably the last 2 hours cleaning this side of the block, getting all these little nooks and crannies, cleaning out the gasket surface here for the turbochargers, running a drill through all the threaded holes, making sure all those are nice and clean. And we are almost ready for installation. Now, one thing I want to show you guys is there are 2 different size torque screws that go onto these turbo lines. There's also a bunch of O-rings. The last time I did turbos on the N54, I messed up those screw locations and I caused an oil leak. Now, to fix that and to not have it happen again, here's what I'm gonna do. I went to Real OEM and I pulled up the schematics for the oil lines and the coolant lines for this engine. Now you can see here, like let's just use this one for example. Unhighlight these. So number 10, that's where bank 1 oil drain line bolts to the block. We go to 10, it highlights this screw. And when we go down here, it's an M6 by 16. So we know that that location takes the longer one. We go here to where the oil drain bolts up to the turbo. That highlights the 9 torque screw. We go down here, it's an M6 by 12. So anytime I'm gonna bolt up these lines, I'm gonna use this schematic and make sure they're going in the right locations. Now we can't just go swapping these turbos on willy-nilly. We need to install all the studs, we need to install the gaskets, and then we also need to put the oil supply lines in there and get them bolted on. We need to put the coolant pipe on and connect those coolant lines, and then we need to install the heat shields, because you need to have the heat shields on first before you put the turbos on. We also need to have the oil drain lines mounted up here and over here. And the one line that we can leave off is the coolant, I think it's either coolant drain or coolant supply. I'm not sure which one. But what I did is I took these brushes, I used the steel and brass ones for the coolant passages, and I used plastic for the oil so we don't get any metal fibers inside the oil supply. And I went in and scrubbed out all of these surfaces. And then I used a pocket screwdriver with a rag and brake cleaner, and I perfectly cleaned out all of these surfaces and then recovered them up so we don't get any contamination. I'm about ready to throw the exhaust manifold or the turbo studs in there, but before I do, I want to go in, clean out these threads, and take some brake cleaner, safety glasses, and I got a bag of genuine BMW exhaust manifold studs. These should be replaced when you do the turbos. They just get sloppy, the threads get damaged, they see so many heat cycles, and the turbo nuts tend to stick to these. There's a little bit of brake cleaner in there, so I'm gonna spray these out real fast. Swapping those old exhaust manifold studs over to this new engine would just feel wrong. That's why I buy the turbo installation kit from FCP Euro. It's got studs, nuts, all the O-rings, all the gaskets, all the hardware, everything is new. I've had these exhaust manifold studs break on me before too. They're an E6, they're literally so small. Didn't spray that one out good enough. This didn't show the torque spec, but I looked it up online, 10 Newton meters. Okay. Let's do the oil drain lines next. Now I have meticulously cleaned these things. I scrubbed all the surfaces with this wire brush. I ultrasonic parts cleanered them, and I took brake cleaner and sprayed out the inside, make sure there was no space glitter getting transferred over to this new engine. Take a little dollop of Sil Glide, and these are gonna take the only 2 large O-rings in the kit. Rub some Sil Glide on there, slip her over for a nice fit. Okay. All right, let's get these fitted in. New O-rings are on. This one's gonna be buried behind the engine mount bracket, so we might as well do it now. They both take the long screws, so I have 2 of the M6 by 16s, and the torque spec for these is 8 Newton meters. A common problem with these lines is they get coked up from long oil change intervals and on the feed and on the drains, and it doesn't allow the oil to drain out and circulate through the turbocharger or get fed, and it can cause oil starvation on the turbos. Now we're getting into the super methodical stuff. I just want to go nice and slow. I remember I used an aftermarket oil return line last time I did this job, and this bracket didn't fit properly, so I tried to modify it, but you really honestly want it to fit perfect, and so I ended up going with the original. 8 Newton meters. There's gonna be yellow all over this engine. All right, let's get our oil feed fitted up. And this is gonna fit together like that. Then our bolt will go through. We got a brand new bolt. Pull that out. That's all nice and clean. This bracket's in the way. I don't like how that's fitting. These flex lines, oh no. Did y'all hear that? I think I just broke this line. Oh, I bent it a lot and it just crunched. Oh no, I don't have a spare one of these. I was mocking it up and it was pushing back, maybe because I had it in the ultrasonic parts cleaner, but it feels broken inside. I'm gonna push some compressed air through it, see what it feels like, but I think I just broke that line. Dang it, dude. Ugh. That sucks. Do I order just one line? Do I order all four? 50 bucks for aftermarket, 150 for genuine. See that kink in it there? So I did some research and it's either Teflon or PTFE underneath there. And I pressurized it with air, with the air compressor, plugged one end, pressurized the other. I couldn't hear anything, but that doesn't mean that that's not collapsed on the interior and the lining's broken. So $350 mistake. I got a set of oil lines coming, a whole kit for all four. That sucks super big time because I can't put the turbos on until those lines show up, and they won't show up for another 2 or 3 days. So that means this entire side of the engine is completely stalled. We're dead in the water. These lines need to go on, and then the heat shields, and then the turbos. So, time to switch gears to something else that I can actually do in the meantime. Can't put the engine mount bracket on because I need to do this turbo line. Also gotta do this one, and the genuines were like $200 a piece, so I got a OEM aftermarket, you know, Victor Rhein's genuine BMW combo from FCP Euro. I've had fitment issues in the past. We'll see if fitment's good this time. Dang it! I was so ready to put the turbos on today, but that's mechanical repair right there for you folks. All right, breaking that line really sucked. You know, it delayed me by 2-3 days on this entire project now, but it is what it is. I gotta recover, keep making good progress, so let's do what we can. I think I can get this coolant pipe installed without getting in the way of everything else. We can bolt up those coolant lines. Should still be room for the oil lines after that. Oil line should show up in 2 days. And then we'll work on cam bolts, swapping the flex plate, maybe doing some stuff over on the intake side, and we'll just try to keep going. But man, I was ready to just fly through these turbos and get everything buttoned up. Gasket's perfect. And this surface is all cleaned. I sanded it and Scotch-Brited it and wiped it with brake cleaner. 9 Newton meters. Okay, I got these coolant lines scrubbed and cleaned up. There was a one on there. I'm not sure which one goes to which. I think it's this way. All right, these ones take the 16 millimeter T30s. Torque spec is 8 Newton meters. Well, we ought to plug up this oil supply port and move on to what we can move on to next. I think I can get this flex plate off on the engine stand. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna be able to get it out. I don't think the gap is big enough. That's gonna be funny if that's the case. I'd be able to get it out from the top, but I already put the starter in. Oh, just can't do anything right, can I? I put the crank pulley on too soon as well. Good thing I put these on light. Oh. Goodness gracious. You are special, Alec. You are special. You are so smart, mister. Just doing everything twice. That's okay. We're having fun. Are you having fun? I'm having fun. I'm spending money, but I'm having fun. Hopefully providing some value to you guys. Come on, come out through the top, will ya? I don't even think it's gonna come out through the top. I think I took the starter out for no reason. That's what I was gonna do this part once I took the engine off the stand. But I need to do the cam bolts. In order to do the cam bolts, I need to put the other flex plate on. In order to do the other flex plate, I need to take it off the engine stand. In order to take the engine stand, I need to put it on the cherry picker. Can't do turbos because I broke the turbo line. Can't do the injectors because I need the injector compression Teflon seal tool. There's nothing on this side I can do. I can't even put this thing back on the subframe because I need to reattach the engine mount bracket over here so I can suspend it, and I can't do that until I do the turbo line. So literally the only thing left that I can do is double check the timing of the engine with the new flex plate on, replace the cam bolts because I took them out a few times. And so to do that, I'm gonna have to cherry pick this, take the engine stand bracket off, put the flex plate on, go through the timing procedure, put it back on the engine stand. So that's all I can do, and then we can do the valve cover, so let's do it. Oh, and I just remembered this shop crane doesn't like to straddle this engine stand. Maybe if we put it out at half ton. I must have prayed for patience recently. You just gotta laugh it off though. Just gotta roll with the punches, do the best with what you got. It's not fun to put this thing back on the engine stand. This shop crane and the engine stand don't cooperate. I need to put a bolt in that flex plate. Well, we can do the rear main while we hang it, so. Okay. That bolt really bend? Oh, the rear main's perfect. You know, the rear main on this engine was all blown out. It was almost like pushed out. Check out the depth on this rear main here. And look at this rear main. It was pushing out. It's not even installed all the way. It's like someone tried to do it and they couldn't do it all the way because there's the injection notch right there. So someone failed to do a rear main on this car. No wonder it was leaking. Wow, they botched it. Time to bust out the new N series front crank rear main seal toolkit. Okay, so we're gonna take this, one of these, I don't know which one, I think it's this one, let's see. So we take this piece with the holes in it. Yep, this is the one. So we unthread our little plunger rod, line that up, and we're literally going to put Phillips head screws in it. I find it funny that we have vehicles with like fiber optic cable inside, but here we are using Phillips screws to pull seals out for the crankshaft, you know what I mean? Oh, we need the long ones. Put that on. You are getting sleepy, very sleepy. That's a hypnosis joke. Okay, I'm gonna for sure grab the wrong wrench size. Nope, got it first try. Oh boy, that seal comes out so good. Look at that. How's that, huh? That came out like butter. I can't believe that old rear main was hanging on for dear life. That is wild. The flex plate was probably the only thing holding that thing in there. All right, there's the old seal. Now we gotta clean up this sealing surface. There's our marks for the injection mold to bleed into. So I'm gonna put a little reinstalling in there to seal it up nice, but you can tell they totally had that thing cocked wrong and yeah, fools. Okay, a little bit of Victor Rein's reinstalling. I saw M539, shout out Stretton. Saw M539 using some of this stuff. Figured it might be good. Just a little dab at those two injection locations. Okay, and use the cup. That's a little messy. How did they put the seal in so wrong? You could hammer that seal on, you know? I put it in a little crooky. Can I have my cup back? That looks about dang perfect. We got a slight splooge, and then see we got the seal to sit in there right where the chamfer ends. We're looking good, looking good. That little bit of Reinza is not gonna hurt anything. That's just to make up for the lack of injection mold sealing into the rear main seal. You totally could have, I could have tapped this one in with a hammer, but using the installer is nice. Looking good. This is a good kit. I don't want to do the timing or torque the cam bolts with this thing floating in the air and wiggling around. So here's the plan. We're gonna put the flex plate back on it. We're gonna take the crank pulley off so I can put my crank hold down tool on the crank so I can torque these flex plate bolts to spec. Then we're going to put it back on the engine stand, put the timing kit on top, lock the crank via flex plate, and then recheck the timing on the engine stand. Got it? Got it. Now hold on just a minute. This is the flex plate that came out of the used engine, and it had this little notch here that I wallowed just a little bit. Really not much. I really didn't. And then this is the flex plate that came out of my old engine. The crank seal has literally rubbed this, and there's like literally almost a groove rubbed into it. So I don't think I should use this one. I was gonna use this one because this notch is in a little bit better shape. I'll put the pin in there and see truly, or like measure it with a micrometer and see if there's a measurable distance. But that rear main seal being installed improperly literally rubbed a groove and rubbed material into this. So I don't think I want to use it. That's wild. All right, I found Grandpappy's calipers, brown and sharp, Swiss made, and it's in inches. So let's check this one. I ran out of storage, so my camera stopped recording, but I compared the width of this little index mark for the pin for the timing tool, and I compared it to this one, and they were pretty much the same. I bent this one in just a touch with a pair of pliers, but it honestly didn't even really need it. I'm not gonna run this flywheel with this thing having rubbed the rear main for so long, so this one's good to go. Let's slap it back on and throw some fresh hardware in it. That is just so crazy that the seal was just rubbing against it. Look at all these little shavings and stuff in here. This is rubber. I can feel it. All that old rubber in there. Crazy. I needed to replace the hardware on this thing anyway, so it's no big deal. But you see, it can only fit on one way. It doesn't fit there. It doesn't fit there. But I drop it into this larger one. Boom, it fits. So the flex plate is indexed to that dowel. And on an automatic car, it's called a flex plate. On a manual car, it's called a flywheel. I've decided to put some blue Loctite on them just because they are part of a rotating assembly. Just better safe than sorry. I'm gonna torque them to spec, but anything that spins, it's good practice to put Loctite on. Okay, so it's either take off the crank pulley, attach the crank hold down tool, and then torque this while it's up and swinging, or put it back on the engine stand and use that access spot that I had on the bottom to get a torque wrench up in there with my big T60. I'd rather do it on the engine stand, so let's put the bracket back on, put her back on the stand. By the way, here's a look at my garage right now. Tires, trans, subframe, engine stand, old parts, old engine, all new parts. All old parts over there, shop crane, boxes out with specialty tools, car up on the rack, absolute mess of a toolbox. It's crazy in here right now. So I had to space this out with washers because I couldn't put the engine stand bracket on with the flex plate installed. So how did I do this again? This part is never easy. This engine stand and shop crane don't like each other. These legs are too wide. Need to cut and shorten the width. Hey, that's pretty good. Okay, it's not pinned, but it's locked. Oh, we can almost pin it. She's pinned. Get out of here, shop crane. So the reason that I have to retime the engine is when I did the timing chains and guides, I didn't lock the crankshaft and I just put the pin in to lock the flywheel, and I hit this with an impact gun and I jostled that crankshaft and I wallowed that little index hole on the flex plate out just a little bit. So I wanted to put the other flex plate on just to double check, but I took these bolts out multiple times because I couldn't get it timed right. It kept jumping, and the reason is I didn't have a tensioner in there. I have my hydraulic tensioner in there now, but there's a mechanical tensioner that you're supposed to install when you do the timing. Now this isn't pumped up with oil. I might have to put the mechanical in, but let's spin it around. Let's pin cylinder 1 TDC at the flywheel. Let's check timing here. Then we're gonna bust these loose, replace these cam bolts. Here's my timing kit for N51 to N55. So we'll need this N54 piece. We'll need this guy, and then we'll need the locking tool. Looking at the top of the valve train, I'm gonna put a 22 millimeter on the crank and I'm gonna rotate it over. What's that flex plate rubbing on? Why can I hear it? I think one of the washers I dropped maybe went down there. I didn't find the third. I did, I can hear it. I see it. The washer that I dropped is in there behind the flex plate. Got it. No more noise. I wonder what the heck that was. Okay, I'll do that later. Mystery solved. I knew it sounded off. That would have been catastrophic if I would have forgot that. Okay, back to what we're doing. I'm gonna rotate this over till we can see the QR codes. Almost. QR code on exhaust, QR code on intake, and then inside this gap where I put the fuel line in to get in my way, we pull this pin out. That's just a little cover. And then before I hit TDC, I forget which pin it is. Black one? I went too far. I went too far again. Almost. Hold the pin forward. Now it's dropped in. Okay, now the crankshaft is locked and we got our QR codes on top. Ba-ding, ba-ding. Now to check timing for top end to bottom end, these go in like this, and that drops in beautifully, meaning that our valve train, our camshafts are timed to the crankshaft on cylinder number 1. Great news. Drop these down. So now our camshafts and our crankshaft is timed and locked in. And this is gonna hold those camshafts stiff. Next, we take our little reluctor wheels for the camshafts, and this should slide in into both of those. Perfect. So the engine is still perfectly timed, no issues there. Okay, next we're gonna break loose these camshaft bolts, because when I messed up the timing, I took them out and put them back in so many times that I just wanted to be confident and not have worn out camshaft bolts. There's a 15? No, it's a 16. Now everything's locked in. I'm gonna put some bolts in here real quick just to keep those wheels perfect. Brand new engine camshaft timing adjuster bolt. There's your part number. And the torque spec is 20 Newton meters, 180 degrees. One line for Newton meter, 180. 180, 180. Now we pull these off. We pull our pin. Rotate the engine twice. Okay, and then get almost to the QR code. Bring our flex plate down until our pin drops in. Bottom end is locked. Grab our timing set. Boom, falls right down on the camshafts. Perfect. Boom, falls right onto the camshaft sensors. Both pins are in the wheels, fully timed, good to go. No concerns. New cam bolts are in, flex plate is on, we just need to torque it, and the engine is timed. We can put the valve cover on it. Before I go any further on this engine, now that the timing's locked down, we gotta cover up this valve train and keep it protected. Sadly, the last tech massacred this cylinder head. We got a bunch of scratches over here on the intake side. We got some gouges over here on the exhaust. You see all this marking here around this bolt hole? That's from someone over torquing the valve cover. When I take the other one off, I'll show you how it happens. The valve cover on this engine's got like a couple 100 miles on it, so we're gonna rip this thing off and slap a fresh gasket on it and reuse it. You gotta clean it too. Get stuck on these little spark plug tubes. This thing's stinky, dude. Why are you stinky? Doesn't smell like gas, like normal stink. All right, I'm trying to decide whether I wanna pressure wash this thing or not. Luckily, the gasket surface is nice and dry. Not much oil got down in there. Yeah, maybe just a little bit, but this thing brand new. I think we just sprayed out with brake cleaner. Yeah. What's this, dude? There's a chunk of plastic in there. Now I gotta find where it came from. Shoot, it was sitting down in there. Everything is perfect. All the ports are perfect. I have no idea where that piece came from, but valve cover's looking good so far. I see no cracked or broken pieces. Maybe it was in there from the manufacturing process and it was just in there the whole time. I don't know. This is like my 7th can of brake cleaner. I'm spraying it out so there's no remnants of space glitter. There goes one whole can. Sage is addicted to the air compressor. See? Now I'm taking a rag and a pick tool and some brake cleaner, and I'm getting all the oil out from inside the gasket galleys. All right, I just spent the last 30 minutes with a rag, pocket screwdriver, and some brake cleaner, just scraping out all the oil, you know, soaking it up with the towel. You don't want any oil down in these cracks, especially for you folks that are doing a valve cover gasket in your engine bay. Flip the valve cover over, the gasket's gonna fall out. You're gonna have a nightmare doing it. Also, you see all those gouges that was on the cylinder head? See these hardware, they got these little rings, right? When you over torque it and you compress that gasket down, you start to bite this metal ring down into the cylinder head, and then sometimes they'll spin and then you'll just end up gouging it. So follow torque specs so you don't gouge up the cylinder head like that other person did. New L-ring valve cover gasket going down. I normally like to replace the valve cover, but again, this one's brand new. And yeah, if you guys are doing just a gasket and not replacing, really, really clean the surfaces. I know someone's gonna comment, well, I put an aluminum valve cover. I like the OE valve covers. Yes, they are plastic. Yes, plastic is garbage on engines, but it's got a built-in breather that works well. The gasket seal, found that the metal valve covers don't seal very good. So we do plastic. Yeah, it's got like 500 miles on it. Get the gasket fully seated. You should feel it almost click into place. It's got little tabs on it that fit into the gasket surface. I'm gonna put just the tiniest little dab of this reinstalling on this gouge, just because those parts are actually gouged a little bit. Please stay in place, gasket. Please. Nice. All right, let's zip this thing down and get her torqued up. These studs are weird. I use a Husky 3/8 10mm socket, and the stud slips through the 3/8 drive just enough for me to catch half of my extension into the back. I shared that trick with people online, and they said that the new Husky sockets don't do it, so you might need a specialty tool for these studs. Basically just an extra deep 10mm. 8.5 Newton meters. For these spark plug tubes, I just drop them in, take a screwdriver, put it in that little notch, pop them in like that. Let's get these spark plugs in here. Torque spec for these is 23 Newton meters plus or minus 3 Newton meters. So we'll do 25. Ungreased. All right, we need to get this flex plate torqued up, but the initial torque on it is 30 Newton meters, and then the final torque is 125 Newton meters. That's a lot of force, and we need a way to hold this engine still while we put all that force on the flex plate. Now, tightening the flex plate, we're rotating it this way, clockwise from behind. And that's also gonna be backwards for the engine. We can't use the central crank bolt because if we're forcing the engine backwards, it's going to want to potentially loosen that crank bolt. So we need to take off the crank pulley or the harmonic balancer so we can put the locking tool up on the crank. I jumped the gun by putting this balancer on and torquing it up a little bit too early. It's crazy it's not keyed. Okay, so we're gonna be twisting the engine that way, so going this way. Okay, so let's simulate and say I'm gonna be torquing one of these bolts. Yep, it's gonna wanna push down. So let's rotate this clockwise. All right, so all we're gonna do is take this crank hold down tool. Oh, it hits right there on the block. We need a shorter 4x4. I don't have a shorter 4x4, but we can use a 2x4. So here, it's just gonna sit on top of there. And then when we crank it, the hold down tool is gonna hit this piece of wood and it's not gonna be able to go anywhere. Well, I just realized that we're not gonna be able to rotate the crank hold down tool over because it hits right there on the block, and I can't access all the bolts while it's on the engine stand. So I'm gonna have to break down the hold down tool, rotate it over, and I wanna do equal and opposite, so this is gonna take a while. But this is the only thing that I can do while I wait for parts, so it is what it is. Let me see what I can do here by rotating the crank. So let's turn it up 125, because I'd like to do this final torque in a star pattern. And I could just wait until I have this engine back on the subframe, but I'm waiting for parts and I'm just trying to do what I can while I wait for parts. There's one that I can't reach. Of course. Ooh, that hurt my shoulder. All right, all torqued up in a star pattern. All right, we should be able to put this back on for good now. All done with timing, all done with flex plate. I don't think we need to hold the engine for any more reasons. I was gonna put the vibration dampener back on, but I was trying to think of what else we might need to hold the crank down in order to tighten up. And we will have to put the torque converter bolts back in. And instead of sticking a pry bar on the flex plate and possibly damaging the teeth or bending the flex plate at all, we'll put the crank tool back on the crank hub and tighten it up that way from the bottom. So we're just gonna leave this off. Guys, we got parts. Our new oil line showed up. We got a Rhine oil drain line, a Rhine feed line, another Rhine feed line, and a genuine BMW drain line. This is a kit that FCP Euro sells. The genuine lines are like $200 a piece, and I ain't made of money, so we didn't buy those ones. I got another 2 gaskets for the drain lines, and then we got all 3 compression sleeves to fit the injectors, and we got an oil level sensor O-ring. We also got the correct hold down bolt for the injectors because one of them was missing and I used another bolt. Let's do the turbo feed lines next because I want to see if these things will actually fit okay. Aftermarket lines can fit a little funny, so please, Lord, help these fit nice. Just a little bit of sill glide on all my O-rings. Ryan, seriously, dude? How am I supposed to put that in? Huh? How am I supposed to install that? Let's see if my other old oil line will work. Please line up. Please line up. There we go. Okay, so I have to use one of my old oil lines because this one wouldn't line up with the bracketry. Guys, tight turbo lines like this, we gotta step up our game. Boy, these things are so hard to access with it installed in the car. Like, you really got to put a lot of faith in these parts. I'm a little hesitant with how tight that line is to the block. Oil feed to upper crankcase, 19 Newton meters. I'm quite worried that this line is gonna rub. Maybe I can cut this little piece of rubber just to like get it in there and protect it. But I really don't want to damage this line. That makes me feel a little bit better. Just tuck that little piece of rubber behind there. All right, now we can take these off. 8 Newton meters. I polished up the heat shields with a little glass cleaner. Give them a little shine. I'm gonna put so much yellow on this engine. Well, since we got new ones in the kit, and these oil lines are old, let's pull these oil lines, fit the new ones, see how they fit. I don't really like the fitment on that. Let's check fitment on this one. That's way better and it fits way deeper. I think it's okay. Let's throw the hardware in and see how it fits once it's snugged. Okay, it pushes it in. I'm okay with that. This one's genuine. The replacement for this one is genuine BMW, so I know it's gonna fit right. All right, now we fit this weird metal, soft little donut holes into the cylinder head. You wanna be gentle with these. You can damage them real easy. Maybe I can pre-fit them on the turbos instead, like that. Let's try that. Felt like normally I used to put them on the cylinder head, but this looks like a good move. These things are one-time use, folks. These little donuts only like to be used one time. All right, let's see if this thing will fit, huh? It's looking decent. Okay, that line fits nice. I just kind of want to pre-fit these lines because some of the angles look a little stiff. This one looks good. That one fits. All right, I think that's enough for me to be able to commit. Man, brand new OE Mitsubishi turbos. This thing's gonna run so good. I think we're doing a good job. What do you guys think? Am I doing a good job on this engine build so far? All right, let's snug these up equal and opposite with this T50. 20 Newton meters is the torque spec. Let's see what it feels like when we get close. Oh yeah, we're okay. Boy, I'm happy seeing this first turbo go on though. Starting to feel like I'm finally making some progress. Nice, let's go. Y'all, I just want to take a second and tell you how grateful I am for you, the viewer, you in particular, for watching and supporting this type of content, you know? Here I am sitting in my home garage, building an N54 for the very first time, jumping into jobs that I've never done before. What a cool experience. And just to have the opportunity to be able to do this and make entertaining content for you guys is truly a blessing. So thank you for your support and thank you for subscribing and watching this type of content. It wouldn't be possible without you guys. And I'll always do my absolute best to be of service to you, the viewer, because at the end of the day, it's all because of you supporting me that I'm able to do this. So thank you for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. All right, let's see if we can fit turbo number 2. I spent most of today waiting on parts. I didn't get a part delivery till like 6 p.m. So if I can get this done before dinner time, come back out here tomorrow with the turbos installed and all the lines connected, I'm gonna be a very happy man. Based off just clearance with the coolant pipe and everything, I think this side will go in a lot easier. And this dang aftermarket hose better not give me any grief. You behave, okay? Dang, dude, this one just falls on. At least the turbo does. This line looks a little cockeyed though. Try to get you guys a view of me trying to get this hose fit. Let's try to get these nuts on a little bit further. This is the type of stuff you run into with aftermarket hoses. All right, I'm confident. I think we'll be able to capture it. Okay, let's get this thing snugged up a little bit. Bro, that stud is literally, how am I supposed to even put that in? It's literally touching the turbo. That is the tightest fit in the world. That is unreasonable. Can I fit that coolant hose back there? All right, test fitting this coolant hose. I can get her in there like that, and then this one goes there, so we'll be okay. This one should be easy. Quick shout out to FCP Euro for supplying me with these turbos. I literally wouldn't have been able to afford this job if they wouldn't have taken good care of me. So big thank you to FCP Euro. All right, if this turbo line doesn't fit in here now with it bolted up, I'm gonna throw a wrench. Just kidding, we don't throw wrenches here. We laugh it off. Hey, Mr. Ryan Hose, you're gonna go in, okay? When I do get it in, it takes the 12mm short length screw. If this doesn't go in, I have to take the turbo back out, and I'm gonna be a little upset. Boy, I just really hope that thing's seated. There's no way for me to check it. I got faith, but in that hose, I don't know. She's torqued. I gotta look at this thing with the borescope. Okay, it looks good. I don't see any O-rings sticking out. I checked it all the way around, so gotta trust it. Let's try to fit this other one. Oh yeah, butter, baby. Butter. Butter. All right, let's see about getting this bank 2 coolant hose in here. I got the pipe cleaned up, new O-rings. That fit real nice there. And this one comes up and over. These two kind of want to go in at the same time. That one's fit nice. Okay, and then this one accepts the long bolt. This one accepts the long bolt. I double checked on Real OEM. No, that doesn't like the long bolt. That one's a short bolt. Let me double check my schematic. Which makes sense because I'm out of long bolts. Yep, this one's a short bolt. This one here's a long bolt. So important to check those bolt lengths on schematics or on ISTA or torque specification sheets. Got new O-rings on the coolant pipe. I also lubed them up with some Seal Glide. Snug that up. Short bolt for these coolant pipes. Okay, that looks good. 8 Newton meters for both of these bolts. Now to prep all these old coolant hoses that I'm reusing, I first pick off the O-rings, which are still pretty fresh, but we're still renewing them. Anytime an O-ring comes out, we're gonna replace it. And then I take a wire brush like this, and there's all this junk on these fittings like that, and I scrub that all off. If I can't get it off with the brush, I use a pocket screwdriver and scrape it. I'll use a fine grit sandpaper, whatever I have to do to get those surfaces really nice and clean, especially down where the O-ring sits. And this is our last 2 turbocharger O-rings. Hit those with a little touch of Seal Glide. Let's get this pipe installed. And one of our shorties. It's really interesting that such a thick hose flange surface takes the short bolts. Okay, it's time for the last part of the turbo lines, and that is fitting the oil drain hoses back up to the bottom of the turbo. So we have these little gaskets here. It needs to shift this way. I don't want to force it that hard. I think I'm gonna need to break this bottom one loose. If I fit that first, that makes it worse there. This one's genuine too. It's not how I want to do this. I also can't fit a straight socket in there, so I have to use a ball Torx. And then that back one is gonna be so hard to get to. I can get it, so, oh boy, okay. Imagine doing this with the engine in the car. What a nightmare. If I were to go back, I would probably pre-fit this on the turbo and then walk it in with the studs and the nuts and yeah, pre-fit the oil drain line. So what I'm gonna try to do is get this front bolt started like that. There's no gasket in there right now. So then we're gonna take the gasket. Oh, I can't do it that way. I just can't slide this gasket up because this clamp for the turbocharger is in the way. What I did is I took a light smear of Reinstalling and I put it on the back side of the gasket surface. I'm not putting it on this ridge that seals up against the turbo. I'm just putting it on the gasket surface. That way I can place it on here and sort of glue it to the flange so it doesn't move and wiggle on me. Now we can torque these up. I don't think I would have been able to do this without this long skinny torque socket. 1/4 inch T30. This one's a ball Torx. It is quite handy. All right, now we can remark this. Okay, another one down. Okay, time for the final oil drain line. Now, I don't think that I can bend this one up and in there, so I'm gonna have to break this bolt down here loose. It's no big deal, we'll retorque it. Put it on too soon, I didn't have it routed right. Let's just break that loose. Okay, and then tuck that in. Final 2 screws. Place our gasket. Throw our bolt in there to hold it. Trying to line that gasket up on the back. It's looking pretty good. Those paint lines match up perfect. My old paint line is great. Okay, folks. The studs are torqued. The nuts are torqued. We have 8 nuts on each turbo. We also have our coolant feed and our coolant return. Those are both torqued. We have our oil feed and our oil return. Coolant feed, coolant return. Oil feed, oil return. Bolted to lower crankcase, bolted to lower crankcase. Oil feed at the block. Both lines come in, bolted to crankcase with the large M8. Both coolant feeds bolted to crankcase, or bolted to the coolant feed pipe. All 4 of our little E-Torx bolts, torque to spec, heat shields, torque to spec, turbo lines and turbos are officially installed. Time to move on to injectors. We have these beautiful Vitesco Index 12 injectors that I installed not too long ago. And now we need to swap out the Teflon seal and also install new decoupling elements. So I have my new tools in. We have these compression sleeves. What these compression sleeves do is once you put on the Teflon seal, you slide these down, you compress it once, you compress it twice, you compress it a 3rd time, and you get it down to a tight enough diameter to where it'll fit in the cylinder head. So I didn't buy the removal tool. The tool to remove these Teflon O-rings, these Teflon seals, is like $200. And I'm like, guys, I've spent enough money on this car already. So I called my boy Mario down at Irvine Motorwork. Shout out Irvine Motorwork. If you guys live in SoCal and you need BMW or Mini Cooper work done, go see those guys. And he was telling me he basically just takes a razor blade and cuts diagonal. That's funny, the seal is spinning. He cuts diagonal across the seal. It's starting to lift up. It's like the Teflon seal is spinning on me, which is okay. It's no big deal. But basically, I'm just gonna take a razor blade. I'm gonna cut that seal, pick it out, and then we're gonna use this cone tool, slide the new Teflon seals on top. Let me work on this for a second. I'm gonna try maybe just a straight press. Yeah, and just roll it. That's the move. Push down and roll the razor blade. Nice. That worked really good. The goal here is to not gouge the cylinder sealing surface. There we go. There's our old Teflon seal. It came up like a toenail. Okay, let's buff this out with a microfiber real quick. Then we take our seal, install it onto our cone, place the cone over the tip. Dang, that's tight. Can we push it on with the compression tool? No, it's gonna get stuck in there. Dang, how do they slide it on? I'm looking at ISTA right now. Use fingers and mounting taper to slide the PTFE seal onto the injector. Do not use the fingernails, do not use any lubricant. Sealing ring is expanded when slid on. Okay, all right, jacket and gloves coming off. Let's get this sucker on there. Okay, got it. And here, slide tool 192 onto it, which is large diameter, then 193, and then 194. So here we have 192, our seal is lined up, slide that on, and then 193, and then 194. And there we have a really nice Teflon seal. Slide on our new decoupling element, get it to click into place on that ring there, and let's get this in the cylinder head. I did clean out that port to the best of my ability without risking dropping anything down into the cylinder. That doesn't want to go in very easy. How do I put them in? I think they're gonna have to be, you know, bolted down in order to get them to sit in there tight. So let's do the next one. I just read I have 10 minutes to install this seal before it swells up, or I have to put on a protective cap. So I'm going to come over here and I'm gonna keep this on the bench. I'm also just going to throw this down on it one more time and just keep that on there. And then this is number 6. Now I need to go pull another one and do 2 at a time. Ooh, that's a lot of oil. My new bolt for the injector. Need torque spec. Hold down device to cylinder head, 13 Newton meters. Okay, 13 Newton meters for this. Let's put this in our pocket. Decoupling element is good on both. And torque wrench. Okay, this is injector number 6. It's marked. Connector goes towards the flex plate. Connector towards flex plate. That one sat down nice. This one doesn't want to sit down. It's okay, I think we can run it down with the hold down bracket. Okay, 13 Newton meters plus or minus 2. I'm gonna play it safe so I can get that injector on the left-hand side to fully seat. We'll go with 15 Newton meters. I got a brand new E10 bolt in there to replace the old missing one. I'm gonna keep a close eye on that left injector. I wanna see that thing squat down and get flush with the cylinder head. The right one fit in real nice. I was able to push it in. That bracket is kicked out a little bit on the right side. Bump that up, even out that bracket. It shouldn't matter too much, but that injector went down. Okay, sick. Okay, now I know we need to bust these things out in pairs. So cylinder 4 is gonna have green tape on the connector. Cylinder 3 is gonna have no tape. Pull our bracket. Oh, I over torqued that last time I did it. I did not torque those to spec. Oh my goodness, I over torqued them. Okay, cylinder 4. Cylinder 3. Okay, let's do 4 first. Tape just fell off this one. 4 is still in my hand. 3 is in my pinky. 4 hand, 3 pinky. I can't be the only one that does little stuff like that to keep track, right? That one sat down nice. That one sat down nice. Nice, let's go. 2 more to go. I've also been taking a rat tail file and a microfiber, tucking this up inside with a little bit of brake cleaner and going into those ports on the cylinder head like this and twisting and cleaning out those ports before I do the installation. Okay, last 2 decoupling elements. Boom, boom, and then one more squish. Number 2, number 1. Nice. And of course, mark these with paint. Time for the engine mount bracket. These bolts are M12 by 1.75. Torque spec I found for those is 66 Newton meters. They are steel bolts, so I'm gonna reuse them. Let's see about getting the outlet for the turbos fixed up. I got new O-rings on there, lubed up with some Sil Glide. I also put a new O-ring on the intercooler side. We'll lube this up when we install the intercooler in the vehicle. I'm not exactly sure of the routing here. Yeah, that AC line's gotta go underneath. I'm gonna put these at an angle for which I can reach them from the top. Hopefully no one will ever have to touch these connectors, these clamps again. That's the goal. Yeah, that's supposed to be access through there. This one there is fine, I think. Actually, I don't want it to interfere with the cats because it gets a little jammed up back here with the cats. So let's pull this. Let's flip the orientation so it's tucked in back here with the turbo line. 3.5 Newton meters for these V-band clamps. That is nothing. You know we're gonna mark it yellow, baby. Someone's gonna complain about all the yellow, and you know what my answer to that is? Someone complain in the comments. I don't care. My car, I'm doing it. And when I finish this job and I put this engine in, I'm gonna look at all that yellow and say, oh yeah, I did every single one of those bolts correctly. Let's keep going on this build and get this injector rail mounted up. Only one of them is sticky. I think it's just the first threads. There we go. Nice. Those fell on way better than my old fuel rail. 13 plus or minus 2 Newton meters for the fuel rail to cylinder head. Reading through ISTA, I also just discovered that it says to coat the fuel line connections with transmission fluid. So I'm gonna put a little bit of synthetic ATF on these connections. I've never done that before. Learn something new every day. Oh, I was afraid that would happen. That's gonna smoke on startup. A little trans fluid down on the turbo. I don't have the crowfoot to torque these to spec, but I'm just gonna snug them with an open end wrench. I've never had an issue this way. I've never had a fuel leak. I'm also going to swap out this, ooh, that was loose. I'm gonna swap out this high pressure fuel sensor for the one that was on my original rail. I think I replaced it. My old one definitely looks a lot newer. Looks to be possibly a different part number too. Hey. Oh, I guess it just sticks out a little bit. Let's slap in this oil pressure sensor too. I think it's time to fit the water pump because it's going to be quite difficult to put it on while we're down on the subframe. It was pretty difficult to get it out, and I don't want to install it once we have the engine back in the car. So let's try fitting it right now. Why is this so difficult? This is usually easy. I will take you apart if I have to. Just bust the thermostat off. Well, that was easier. Tighten up this metal pipe to water pump. Now I know why there's this little blanket. It's right next to the dang turbo. We got steel water pump bolts, so I'm just gonna snug them up. I did it again. I just pressure washed off the front charge pipe. Now we can get this thing mocked up and then fit our Mickey Mouse coolant flange hose. We also have our new seal installed on the turbo inlet over there. Actually, this seal needs to be on the intake. No lube. It's already loose fitting enough. That's a tight fit. I like it though. I probably should have put the belt on first. Front row. That's all right. Oh, you know what? Because of the torque converter, I'm gonna leave this off, so I'm gonna have to put the belt on last. I can get the belt on with this on there. I've done it before and do it again. Last time I fit one of these, the O-ring really fought me. See how this one wants to go in? Oh, that fit nice. This engine's gonna be so dialed. Torque that up. I forget the routing of this thing. I think it's, yeah, that looks right. And it goes back here to the T-stat and kind of hooks back. It's pretty good. This is why I keep boxes of hose clamps. It came with one of those pressure clamps, but I prefer OG hose clamp. And also when I'm doing these hose clamps, I'm trying to orient them to where like if someone has to go in here and do a water pump at thermostat, which they shouldn't because I already did them. They'll have good access. So for this one, probably angle this hose clamp down towards the subframe because they're gonna be doing it from the underside. Just almost too small. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I guess we'll tuck it down. The fitment of the molded hose right here is just, it's a little tiny restricted, but honestly, not enough to cause any issues. So we'll let it ride. Other than that, like I tried to massage it down a little bit to make it a little longer, and then it wanted to restrict up here and stuff. So I think I found a nice middle ground. Look at this thing. Starting to look like an engine again. Almost forgot. Quick 10 Newton meters on the coolant flange hose. Here's a little BMW lore. This hose is referred to as the Mickey Mouse hose because this coolant flange right here is in the shape of a Mickey Mouse head with 2 ears. Normally it's made out of plastic, and this fails prematurely because when the engine is tilted this way, when the oil filter housing and the oil cooler leak, it saturates this plastic with engine oil, causes it to become brittle and break. That's why we upgraded to this Rhine aluminum Mickey Mouse hose. Coolant flange hose is also what it's called. So this is gonna be a killer upgrade. Time for the powder steering pump. Yeah. I don't see why not. When we had the engine sitting on the subframe, it did want to rest on the pulley a little bit, but we'll address that when we drop this thing back into the subframe. Let me pull these bolts out first. So I saw on ISTA there's a super specific repair instruction procedure for tightening this pump down, specifically on this engine in the N55. And I think it's because this is partially slotted, and if you were to do it incorrectly, it could basically not align properly for your serpentine belt. So I'm gonna follow it and tell you guys what it is. So this back bolt gets snugged first to 2 Newton meters, and then these get tightened down. I think it's really just tightening that back one first, just like not even tightening it, just snugging it. Okay, and then 38 Newton meters. I'm gonna pre-route the belt now because it's just easy. And then we'll put the crank on once it's in the vehicle. We'll do the rest. Maybe I should have done this before the charge pipe. We'll let that ride for now. That looks about accurate. I need to reseal the drain plug. Got a crush washer I've been holding on to. Also, what I'm gonna do is pull the drain plug and then tilt the motor, see if we got anything in there. All right, nothing in there, that's a good sign. You know, we did pressure washing. I just wanna make sure that no water got down into the engine. I don't remember if I put a filter cartridge in it yet. I think I did, because that's where the O-ring came from. Guys, I think we're ready to pick this thing off the engine stand and drop it over onto the subframe. I think we've done everything that we could so far. This exhaust side looks so good. And then we'll get the cats fitted on. Actually, what we can do is the electronic vacuum wastegate controls across here. So let me get those cleaned up. We'll get these bolted on and route our vacuum lines. I'm gonna unbolt these wastegate solenoids. Then I'm gonna take this heat shield outside, pressure wash it. Check out how nice this thing cleaned up, huh? Shiny. Boy, this bracket looks so good. Pressure washed it and scrubbed it with brake cleaner and a rag. Torque spec good and tight. Came out so nice. Okay, so this one goes down to wastegate like that. I'll probably double check online, but it looks like source vacuum comes into first actuator, source vacuum comes into second actuator, and then it branches off here to a T, branches off here to a T. That way both wastegates are actuated at the same time, and these T's equalize vacuum between front and rear actuator. So then off this first T, this one goes down to wastegate on turbo 1, bank 1. This is such a pretty picture right here. It's just beautiful. And then this one come down right here. And that is branched off of this T. Okay. All right, for my final act today, let's pick this thing off the stand, drop it into the subframe. What do you think, Sage? We ready? I think we're ready. I think we've done enough. Any work that we missed, we can do while it's in the subframe. It's been an absolute pleasure and a joy to do all this engine work on the stand though. I've really enjoyed it. She's looking really good. Half ton is fine. That's 1,000 pounds. There's no way this engine is more than 1,000 pounds, right? I need as much reach as I can get. Tilt this engine to its natural sitting point inside the subframe. No, I don't have a hole that way. That's too much. That'll be all right. It'll find it. That'd be a good future project. Drill some more holes inside this engine stand. I'm gonna be doing more engine projects. I guess we can leave the engine stand bracket on it. Flop the trans cooler out of the way. Pull our nuts for the engine mounts. Just getting these power steering lines, or these trans cooler lines fitted real quick. So it's gonna make my life a lot easier. Get this other engine mount nut out of the way. It's really nice to have adjustability between the hydraulic table and the crane. So we got passenger side engine mount. I'm gonna come down now because it's starting to lift the subframe a little bit towards passenger. I'm trying to bleed the crane down. Just gotta get that engine mount lined up. There we go. All right, that's on. I've captured both engine mounts. Driver, passenger, trans lines look good. Looks good. I'm coming down with the crane. I'm gonna come down slow just to make sure the hydraulic table's still holding. Let's go. Light work, baby. Light work, baby. Engine mount nut. Engine mount nut. Let's go. She is on the subframe, folks. It got a little, subframe got a little cocked, but it's okay. Let's see if I'm strong enough to shift it. Think I'm strong enough? Yep. On the subframe. Let's go. Got a little bit more room in the garage now. Let's yank off this engine stand bracket. We'll swap it over onto our used one. Put that on the engine stand, start getting it prepped for teardown once we're done. Because if I can get this thing on the engine stand, then I can make a lot more room for myself. And also, I can pretty much put the shop crane away. This rear main blows me away. I'm gonna give you guys one more look at it. I believe it's from incorrect installation because there's the injection mark right there. And that's supposed to be lined up with the case right there and right there. You can see the other injection mark right there. So either they attempted to replace the rear main, which they didn't because this thing was piston oil. I always thought the oil pan gasket was leaking after I did it, but it's definitely a rear main. or something caused extreme pressure inside this engine and started to push the seals out. My guess is incorrect installation, because this thing was literally rubbing on the inside of the flex plate. It's crazy. Let me try to get this thing mocked up. Luckily, we don't have to use the washers anymore because the flex plate ain't on it. Why don't you want to line up? Not even close to lining up. That one doesn't even reach. It's because I need to shift that way. You little sucker, dude. You fit before, dude. This engine stand is not like BMW's. It's been a pain in the ass the whole time. You suck. Nope, that's a tomorrow problem. Finally got this dang engine stand bracket on here, so let's get this thing off the tire on the engine stand. For the rear attachment point, I go through this little hole in the block above the starter hole. And on the front, I grab the factory tow hook and I thread it into this spot here on the cylinder head, right above the oil filter housing. I have to hammer it because the legs of the shop crane aren't wide enough for the engine stand to slip inside of it. Now I got my locking pin for this hole. Rotate the engine. Okay, old engine is officially on the stand. Now we can fold the shop crane up, put it out of the way for a while. It's bleeding all over the floor. Torque spec for engine mount to the support arm for the E90 with an M10 bolt, 38 Newton meters. So I'm grabbing some fresh washers for my power steering banjo bolt, and one thing I can really recommend to you guys is buying an assorted aluminum sealing washer set. Whether it's Vanos lines, banjo bolts, power steering hoses, all that stuff. If you have a kit like this, you don't have to order the individual washer. Just pop them off, find a match in your kit. And in my opinion, the outside diameter can be a little different, but the inside diameter is what I really focus on. Inside diameter is perfect. Outside diameter is a little bit thicker, but that's okay. Inside diameter is what's really important. Now we got 2 brand new sealing washers. We don't have to order BMW specific banjo bolt washers. We're good to go. I bought this on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description for you guys. All these metric sizes. And I like to hold these power steering hoses with my other hand because as you tighten the bolt, it'll turn the hose. I like to just keep the position of it real nice. I'm confident with good and tight. I'm gonna slap in the oil level sensor. This is out of the new used engine, and I also cleaned it out, put in a new seal. Time to clean the trans. I got the trans line holes plugged up, threw a rag in the front pump, and threw a plug in the harness connection. Let's get this thing sprayed down with some degreaser and pressure wash it up. Watch out! She wants to compress air so bad. You're gonna hurt yourself, dude. Gentle, 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 gentle. Gentle. Hey, you're biting me. Come. Come, sit. Down. Down. Good girl. You're biting my hand. You're biting my little hand. Before we drop this trans in, we need to put the torque converter in the trans. I know it takes ZF Lifeguard 6 fluid. I just want to top this torque converter off. Starting to get some bubbles. Something I want to try is this is an old Theragun that I keep in the garage for cleaning carpets and stuff. Kind of like vibrating a concrete form, you know? Put some vibration to this. Nope. It's a fun idea though. I think we got all the bubbles out of it already. We did get it to take some fluid. We're gonna do a trans service on this once we get the engine up and running. I got all the supplies. There's some more bubbles. Yeah. Whoa, that thing ate even more fluid. Whoa. It's really eating fluid. Keep going, little buddy. I lubed up the splines on the torque converter just with some Sil Glide. It's just light grade silicone grease. See the bubbles? Yeah, she's drinking a lot of fluid. This thing must have been low, this trans. All right, we got enough fluid in there. If I could go back in time, I would have ordered this pump seal where the torque converter goes into the trans, but I didn't. But we'll be okay. It looks to be in good shape. Okay, we'll lube up the snout of the torque converter. And then as we install this, we're looking for 3 clicks. I think it's 3 clicks. So we go in, jostle it, click 1, click 2, click 3, get it fully seated. All right, wish me luck. Hopefully we don't make a mess. We made a mess. I'll top it off a little bit more. Just lost all that top off progress. Come on, Alec, you got this. There we go. She's in. Yeah, I think we got it. And you know, if it doesn't fully mate, then we know we don't have it in all the way. I'm gonna take this, loosen this trans line bracket over here. Let's bring our jack up. We can pop the strap and wiggle it by hand. Never wanna force a transmission and walk it in with bolts. Now when I'm tightening these bell housing bolts, one thing I really focus on is where are the dowels? And I'm looking to make sure those dowels are sliding in nice and effortlessly. They should slide together without resistance. Now the way I check that the transmission is lined up properly and not binding on anything, you should be able to put your finger inside the bell housing and spin the torque converter. And it should spin freely. Right now I can grab the torque converter and it's spinning freely from the flex plate. So nothing is bound up in there. I have the torque converter fully seated and it's free floating, which is good. It's exactly what we want. Okay, let's put the starter in. All right, time to see if we can sneak these catalytic converters back into the drivetrain. We got these gaskets to fit into the turbos. It's got a machine groove in there and these things fit in really nice. Same gasket material as the turbo manifolds. Maybe one of you guys can tell me if this stuff is magnesium or not, I'm not sure. Take the bolts out of these big clamps. I'm not sure how I'm gonna orient them yet, as long as they're spread out wide and they're on the turbos. So we have the bracket in the rear that they go into. The long one goes up to the front, short one goes to the rear. Let's give it a try. This is the front one. Probably should be done without the engine mount bracket. Or we can put them up together. I think that's the move. One thing I forgot to do is put in the turbo additive oil, but that'll be okay. I'm gonna pull fuel and spark and crank this thing over a bunch before we fire it up. All right, come on, front turbo. Nice. I'll probably have to loosen these brackets when I fit the catback exhaust on, but I'll snug them up for now. Bank 2 upstream. I'll double check the routing and I might change it, but I'd rather have it around this hot side charge pipe rather than up and risk touching on there. Got the upstream O2s routed up along the back of the valve cover, along the back of the fuel rail, up into their clips. Hey, puppy. Oh, look at that flop. Okay, let's fix up this harness. There's a couple pieces that are just like missing a little bit of conduit. So I'm just gonna take some Temflex friction tape, tidy up the harnesses. So we just don't have bare wire. Look at this behemoth. That's a lot of wires. Now we gotta figure out where they all go. Let's get to it. I'm gonna start, it's a little messy, but I gotta pull some trans bolts and put another bracket in. I'm gonna start with, where'd you go? This bracket here. Let's start here. Okay, fuel hose. Okay. And then our trans is over here to there. There we go. Our first wire connection is in. And then this cluster right here, we have oil level sensor, downstream O2s. Tuck those down and plug in oil. Let's try to get this mess sorted out a little bit. I had a coworker leave one of these ground straps on the ignition coil side, valve cover side loose after working on an N63, and it fried the DME. So I really want to make sure I get those snugged up. Before I forget, I got all the grounds snugged up. I'm gonna have to disassemble the thermostat from the water pump to get the water pump plug down in there. So before I stop for lunch, let's make a little sense out of this intake side. This is a mess, a certified mess. crank sensor. Okay, PCV. This goes up to purge. This one goes to high pressure. And then I believe this one runs up oil pressure, coolant temp at coolant flange. This one goes down to lower vanos. Actually, I'm gonna have to unplug these because this is supposed to run underneath these. Okay, we just need to torque the knocks. I know I shouldn't have unbolted them. I should have unplugged them and left them, but it is what it is. I had to reuse them. Purge, right intake, PCV, map sensor, starter. This looks like Turdinator. All right. What are these? O2s. So O2s kind of come up from here, hang out here. AC compressor. And this is gonna go behind the line. Time for the starter wire. Starter to alternator to battery post. And then this wire travels into that clip over here to the alternator. Some stuff needs to be torqued to spec, some stuff doesn't. And this one is plenty fine to just snug up. Fight me in the comments. Okay, I think we're good for intake manifold. Let's pick these intake manifold gaskets out. These don't need much torque at all. I have snapped one before. This will just help guide the intake manifold on. I like to pull them for removal, but installation it's nice to have. If it's in the car, I'll install it without the studs. And then the front one's a bolt, so we'll leave that out. One of the previous owners siliconed the intake manifold gaskets. Not necessary. These gaskets never leak. Never seen a leak at one of these gaskets in my life. See this little bracket right here? It is so much easier to take the harness off these prongs than it is to pull these bolts out. 15 Newton meters for the M7 bolts, 22 millimeters for the M8. Forgot to press record, but purge valve is connected, PCV connectors routed, throttle body's plugged in, manifold absolute pressure sensor is routed properly, and this sensor's plugged in. Let's put this rear turbo inlet pipe on now, and then we'll move over to passenger side. We got this little rear bracket that needs to go on too. That keeps the intake pipe on and also gives us a place to clip our vacuum hose. All right, I need to tighten clamps, cats to turbo. And also now I'm going to try to disconnect the thermostat from the water pump, give myself a little bit of room to route that water pump connector. I'm too bound up right now. I can't squeeze it through in a good spot. I just don't know what hole it's supposed to go through. I'm gonna try to disconnect the big U-shaped hose from water pump to thermostat. And I can sort of bend that out of the way. I think sneak it in. I gotta get this hose on the other side of the thermostat. This wire. That's the best way for me to route it to keep it away from the turbo. Rotate hose clamp. Ugh. Got it. That sucked. Oh, I routed this wrong, but that's okay. I'm supposed to route it down here. I see the clip for it now. I ain't taking apart that thermostat and water pump wiring though. Nope, not doing that. Before I forget, I gotta snug up these band clamps for the cat to turbo. 13 Newton meter, replace clamp if necessary. Boy, that feels tight. I don't wanna break them. Jeez, oh my goodness, dude. It's not chill. New transline O-rings. Again, we're gonna do a trans service, so I'm not gonna flush the cooler right now. We'll do that when we do the trans service. 8 Newton meters. Guys, we're practically ready to install this thing. Like 2 O2 sensor connectors up top and like it's ready to go back in. I need to crib up the bell housing here so we can ditch the transmission jack. So we'll do that soon. I'll just jack up the rear end with the trans jack and then let's do that now. I'll do the O2 sensor connectors and then we're gonna smoke test exhaust and intake to make sure we don't have any leaks. Up bank 2. And this is an aftermarket O2 sensor and it is so sticky to connect. And look how nice this OE one connects. Boom. Difference between OE and aftermarket right there. I don't like that the bell housing is wet, but that's oil from the torque converter after installation. What I'm gonna do is lift up the trans jack and then block some wood in here between the bell housing and the hydraulic lift table because this trans jack doesn't go high enough for the installation. I'm actually not gonna lift the trans up anymore. In fact, the engine is sitting a little bit too far forward. So I'm just gonna find a nice combination of wood here and put it right here at the rear so it captures the bell housing nicely to the back of the trans jack. Right there, that's money. Yeah, that's money. Look at this unit, folks. Crank pulley needs to go on, but super stoked on the progress. Getting back to where we started. I was thinking, let's see about ripping out this oil cooler. First, I'll open up the new one and see exactly what we have to take out, because I think we can leave the bracketry in place, but we will have to eventually get up here and pull the line connections because they're still in the engine bay. Let's check out our new one. Okay, so it's got the whole bracket integrated into it. It's gonna mount up like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the line should just come down with it. This is supposed to be OEM Plus. We need to get some fender wells back in this car because this new oil cooler is just gonna get hammered on the road. Just gotta open the hood so I can grab the lines. So we need to swap out. What's up, Sage? That's the oil cooler. Oil cooler. Okay, swapped. These are a little large, but they'll work. All right, fitment's pretty good. Today is the day. We're gonna install the engine, transmission, and subframe back into my E90. Now to double check all my work, I installed the intercooler with the charge pipe for the cold side all the way up to the throttle body, the diverter valves, and I smoke tested the entire intake system and found 0 leaks. I also smoke tested the exhaust through the flanges at the catalytic converters, and I saw no leaks at my V-band clamps or anything. I did see a light wisp at the linkage for the wastegate, but that's pretty normal. I also installed the vacuum reservoirs in line with the vacuum hoses from the vacuum pump to the reservoirs to the wastegate solenoids to the wastegates, and I had no leaks in any of the vacuum lines. I did forget to torque up those knock sensors on bank 1 and bank 2, but I snuck down in there with a torque wrench and got them snugged up. All right, we are ready for the installation. I pulled the charge pipe off, diverter valves, intercooler, and we are ready to go up. I'm gonna bring down the lift because I'd rather go up with the hydraulic table than down with the car. I've said my prayer. Let's do this thing. All right, I'm just gonna go up with it. All right, now it gets sketchy because the table's maxed out, so I have to barely bump the lift, but we're looking lined up. I think I can sneak the subframe bolts up, at least these front ones. No, these long ones go in the middle. But you know what? I'll use it now to guide it, and then I'll switch it because I need something for a guide on this side. Okay, the trans is starting to settle in. I'm gonna throw the 4 bolts into the trans cross member. That's pretty lined up. Top looks good. Okay, come down with the car a little bit more. Ooh, is that perfect or what? Oh, subframe bolt right in there. So good. Oh, that is sandwiched on the front. That is so good. Ah, that steering column. Oh, shoot. Steering column's bound up on the engine mount, but I think if I pull the bolt that's binding it, it's stuck behind the engine mount. It needs to be in front of it. It's gonna be really hard to get that across. I'm gonna have to bring the subframe back down. Come on, Sage. You can bring me good luck. All right, I got the driver's side bolts out of the subframe and a bigger pry bar. I just need to flop this side down enough to where I can sneak that column through. We got the trans cross member still holding it up, and we got passenger side subframe bolts in still. Dude, I gotta like come down with it. Or else I gotta like put the engine support bar up, take out the engine mount. Do I dare use the handle? No, let's use the lift. It's more accurate. That handle's too jumpy. I think I got it. Okay, we can get that from the top. We gotta come down a little bit. Woo! Let's go, baby! She's in, Sage. Oh, let's go. Let's bring this sucker down, steering column, and inspect the top end. Whew, we did it, guys. We did it. She's in. All right, steering column. It's hard to see, but right here is the engine mount top nut, and the steering shaft was jammed behind the engine mount when I brought the subframe up. So it was binding up behind it. And besides taking out the engine mount and the bracket, there was no other easier way to do it besides just dumping the subframe back down. So now we can slide the column back down like that. Let's get a bolt in this thing before we forget. Nice and tight. All in all, that engine installation went pretty smooth. I mean, I'm quite happy with how it went. We still have a lot of work to do. Everything down here on the passenger side is pretty good. We just need to get this E-box flopped over. I'm gonna try to like nestle it back into where it's supposed to go just to kind of tidy some of this stuff up a little bit. I'm just gonna keep kind of sort of bouncing around the car, going where I think I need to go. But I wanna make some sense out of this mess here for a second. I've actually never pulled the wiring harness like I did with this car. I hope I didn't mess up any of this routing by like lifting up and messing with the wiring harness while connectors were disconnected, you know what I mean? Like jumbling up the orders. I'm gonna roll the dice with reusing these AC O-rings, but they look plenty plump. We should be in good shape. If the automotive shop shows that we're leaking vacuum, I'll reseal the ones I disconnected. What's up, puppy? Give me the paw. Good girl. Give me the other paw. Good girl. All right, we're gonna hit 105 Newton meters on the subframe bolts, if I can. I loosened the engine mount bolt to get the steering column freed up, so gotta snug this back up. Just good and tighting it. Now, I like to do the trans cross member once the subframe is up because it's slotted and it was slightly off shifted last time. So we'll take this out, pull these down till it hangs free like that. Let it find neutral again. 21 Newton meters. All right, we need to get the shift linkage back in here. I shouldn't have busted this nut loose because I might have got myself in a little bit of alignment trouble here, but we'll make it work. I would recommend taking off this nut for the shift lever as opposed to loosening the nut where the cable goes into it like I did, because you run the risk of taking it out of adjustment, but we'll figure it out. Done more with less. That's a tight fit. Can I even get a wrench on there? I should have done these while the trans was down. Nice. All right, hopefully the adjustment is still in. It should be in neutral right now. We got the downstream O2s. Pardon the noise, I got the O2 sensor brackets cleaning. Now we can take our fuel line. The fuel line's on, lock. Evap line is up there loose. Ground strap. All right, lower bell housing bolts plus O2 sensor bracket. All right, now we need to go through that hole and do all the torque converter bolts. All right, 22 on the crank. Now I spin the torque converter with my finger till I get one of the threaded bolts holes to line up. Okay, for the M10 torque converter bolts, it is 45 Newton meters. I'm just gonna mark the back of the torque converter. And then there's like 8 bolts, so I'm just gonna rotate 4. Take a little piece of butyl tape, shove it in the socket so it holds your bolt in. It's very helpful. It's kind of off-centered. So I have to basically break the 2 that I've torqued because the flex plate and torque converter are slightly off, and I have to put all the bolts in first and then go through and torque them up. Okay, they're all in. All right, now we're back at the first one. Now we do the ones we haven't done. Oh, arm's getting tired. I think that's all of them. I think there's 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yep, all torqued up. Woo! Since I didn't need to use the crank lock tool for the torque converter bolts, let's get this crank pulley on here. I'm gonna do some Loctite. A little dab of Loctite for these ones, since it's part of a rotating assembly. Nice. Belt is on, folks. Let's go. That's a win. It's a big win. Belt is nice and flush. We'll double check it once we bring the vehicle down. Let's see if we can get this intercooler back in. I just took it outside and sprayed it out with the pressure washer. So it's sitting down a little bit. What's going on with that? There we go. Yep. If it don't look right, play with it a little bit. I like that. That's good. I'm gonna connect this charge pipe real quick. Sometimes they need a little persuasion with a pair of pliers. All right, one of them charge pipes is on, and that coolant hose is on below the lower. All right, let's start making sense of these control arms and stuff. These front control arm bushings, I'm gonna have to torque at ride height, or else they'll tear prematurely. But we can get them lined up and loosely threaded in. Don't let me forget these tie rods, okay? I gotta torque them up. This 335i has M3 control arms in it, which turns this one into like a uniball. So it's no longer a fixed rubber bushing, which means that we can torque it with the vehicle in the air. But this dang tie rod always gets in the way. You're lined up, bro. We got a little steering bracket on this side, and it goes like that. That's how you go. All right, we can torque these. We can do tie rods. Then we got to bring it down, lift up the steering knuckles to get it ride height to torque the front control arms. I'd really like to get this thing running today. I think that would be sick. Wrong way. I just referenced my M3 control arm installation video, BMW's #1 suspension failure and how to fix it. And these are 68 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. Torque spec for the tie rod end, 165. I ran it down with the impact gun. Now I'm gonna torque it. We're gonna put this at full lock first. That's a lot of torque. All right, let's bang out the last of the control arms. Take a floor jack, put it under this lower control arm. Oh dang, made the lift arm move from the bungee cord on the drive shaft. Sketchy. This lift arm's supposed to be locked down. It's not. It's dangerous. Drop, dude. I gotta move, you guys. Get out of my way. We got a brand new Febby flex disc. I guess let's do the drive shaft. Trying to do all the hard and heavy stuff while I still got some energy. So I just noticed that the E90 output shaft flange has little recesses, and then on here, on the new flex disc, it's got little flanges. Now the arrows should always point towards the flange. It's really easy to mix these up because you want the power transferring through this thick portion. If you're to do it backwards, it'll transfer through this skinny part and you'll blow out flex discs way faster than you should. Arrow towards the flange. Okay, time to release the bungee. I hope I can get this in with the flex disc already mounted. I'm not sure. There we go. I was able to collapse the drive shaft a little bit. Get it centered. Arrow towards the flange. Should have brought the center support bearing nuts with me, bolts, but if I can get this nut on the back, it'll hold it. I don't want to torque the flex disc. I just want to put it up so it holds the drive shaft. It's not at such a severe angle. Just throw those bolts in loose for the center support bearing. All right, let's get all these nuts and bolts on loose. 64 Newton meters. Just throw that wrench on there with the trans in neutral. Rotate it until your wrench sticks against the trans cross member to hold it. Torque wrench on the bolt. Check this last one. Okay, drive shaft, D-U-N, done. We still need to do center support bearing. Okay, flex disc time. I'm gonna get it to where it matches the old paint marks. Should be original. 21 Newton meters. Off camera, I pressure washed and threw up the heat shields. Time to put on the exhaust. This cart made the removal really easy, so I'm gonna try to get her fitted underneath. I know where the balance point is. That's pretty close. No! You're not tall enough. You're so close. If I can get it up on the flange. Oh, I was afraid of this. Last time the flanges didn't match up. That's why I was hesitant to tighten up the catalytic converter bracket. All right, I gotta loosen those nuts. Okay, so there's the bracket where the catalytic converters bolt up to the transmission bracket with these little like 12 millimeter nuts. They sort of index the cats where they need to go. And I need to break those loose because I need some wiggle room in the cats to get them to line up with the catback exhaust. Sneak a little quarter 12 up there. Bust those loose. So now these have a little wiggle to them, especially that one. This part fought me so hard when I did the turbos last time. This happened last time, dude. It sucks. So close right there, dude. Will you stay, please? I will give you a cookie if you go in. Okay, I gotta come down with the car. I almost squished you guys. I need to beat this, but my ears are ringing. I hate this exhaust. I don't know why it does this. I knew it was gonna happen too. Exhaust flange nuts are the worst. I don't know why, they just always fight. Oh my goodness, wrong way. When I was beating on that exhaust, it was just raining down catalytic converter material on me. It's crazy. It's like precious metal dandruff. Tight. I got one of the exhaust hangers hooked onto the bolt for the diff, so she should hold. Just kidding, it fell off. What I'll do is get these exhaust hangers up. And there's these big hangers that go on the diff bolts, big 18s. Okay. Okay, these ones are tight. Those, that one, and vacuum hose. Yes, I took it outside and I pressure washed it. You think I'm torquing these to spec? You are surely mistaken. Yeah, we got more work to do up here. Yes, sir. Let's get started. Before we forget, let's get this. I need to get the pin out of the tensioner, but I don't have the specialty tool for it. I need to order that thing, dude. Can I just lever it down with the pry bar? I don't want to take the front intake pipe out. No, let's pull it out. I'm gonna break something. I ain't trying to break nothing right now. All that for that little pin in the tensioner. I got this power steering cooler hose taped up. I need to get that connected to the cooler. Okay, there's the bottom one. There's the top one. I also have this heater hose here that needs to go down to the hard pipe on a subframe. There's that big, hard, rigid coolant pipe that runs along the subframe. This one goes into it like that. Okay, AC's connected. These go up and over. Airbox goes in. All right, I got the purge valve plugged in. I need to clean up some hoses over there. Now I'm gonna get this auto trans thermostat up. You better fit, dude. If you don't come back up between you and the intercooler, I'm gonna pop a gasket. Okay, that's on. Lower radiator hose. Dang it, dude. We gotta top off the power steering fluid, but we might as well replace the bottle because it's got a filter element inside. We're definitely not ready to put power steering fluid in it, but let's do it now while the charge pipe is out and we have good access. I like to use these nippers from Knipex for cutting these hose clamps down here. Please come off, sticker. Good enough for me. That sucker's stuck. Use some Knipex Cobras. Dang, that sucker's on there, bro. This hose needs replacing. Yeah, it's gonna break on me. We don't want that. This sucker's so original. Gotcha. I always win. It's missing one of the little dowel things. If I can use a valve cover nut. I miss having the engine out and getting all you guys these bitchin' angles. We're back to trying to fiddle around the fenders and hood. And nice. Plug in this map sensor. Let's get this AC hose in. There's so much stuff we've done on this car. It's crazy. But we're moving and grooving. I'm just trying to keep the momentum going. I've been wrenching for 8 hours today so far. Got out here at 9 a.m. It's currently past 5 o'clock. I was about to do the oil cooler and I can't find my new O-rings. So I need to get all this junk cleaned up so I can actually see what I'm doing. So cue the cleanup montage. As my grandma says, everything in its proper place. Technically both my grandparents. After digging through my trash, I found them. Very easy to throw a bag like this away, thinking it was empty. Got it! All right, so we got our new used oil cooler lines. And these little silver guys are similar to the trans line O-rings. It's like the only silver O-rings you find on these cars. Actually, before I put those on, I'm just gonna wipe the surface. Okay. All right, I robbed the old bolt off the old oil cooler. Let's take the protective caps out of this new CSF oil cooler. This thing's supposed to be OEM Plus. Okay, I think they go in like this. That fit pretty nice. So far, so good. Okay, 19 Newton meters for the oil cooler hoses to the oil cooler flange. Okay, now we got this side. Why so long? Do I have you guys on the wrong side? I must have them. Yeah, I got them on the wrong sides. Okay, hoses are swapped. Let's try that again. Okay, 19 Newton meters at the oil cooler. Oh, freshly pressure washed E-fan. I think we can sneak the upper radiator hose in afterwards. This thing is coming together, folks. I can't believe it. This one's still got lube in it, but re-lube it. Guys, this thing is going together. I can't believe it. Okay, vacuum reservoirs and vacuum lines. I think these go on the bottom. This is where having a magnetic 10mm socket is the best. Guys, this is literally almost like the last piece. Expansion tank hose. Do you go through? Let's go. I don't like these cooler hoses touching the expansion tank hose, so take a zip tie through here. Snug them up like that. Diverter valves. Yeah. Oh, we need to connect these. I think I did it opposite. So this comes off, goes to the top of reservoir. Then our E-fan cable. Boom. Guys, we're ready to connect the battery. Then to the intake manifold nipple. I think I did everything perfect. There's not a single thing that I hid from you guys off camera. Everything went really smooth. Come on, lock. Let's throw some oil in this thing, see if it spills all over the floor. I'm rocking some liquid moly, full synthetic, Leichtlauf, high-tech, 540. This car is so fast, I cannot wait to drive it again. It's really an enjoyable driver. Okay, so the game plan is fill this thing up with coolant, connect the battery, plug into ISTA to make sure we didn't leave any sensors disconnected, and then we'll start the coolant bleed procedure. While that's going, we'll fill up power steering fluid, and then we're gonna disconnect all the fuel injectors and ignition coils, crank this thing over with no spark and no fuel to get those rod bearings that we replaced nice and wet, get oil fully circulated through the oil cooler, top end, everything. We're gonna crank this thing over a lot. Really make sure everything's primed up. And then we will attempt starting. Oh, we're gonna pressure test it too. But I'm not hearing anything hitting the ground yet, so that's good news. Always a good sign. Always a heartbreak when you hear coolant splashing off the floor when you're filling it. Okay, that's good enough for me right now. We got coolant all the way up to the bleed screw. All right, I don't want to, but we're gonna pressure test the cooling system. I'd be a fool to not pressure test it. Gotta put 16 PSI in it, make sure everything's good. I don't want to because I don't want to know the result if it is leaking, but ignorance is not bliss when it comes to automotive. I would cry if one of those coolant hoses to the turbos leaked. I would cry. 16 PSI, gonna let that marinate. No new puddles on the floor yet, great sign. Okay, battery is connected. Let's grab our Ethernet and our ICOM. Uh-oh, it shows in park. I think let's keep the back wheels off the ground. I think we might need to adjust that shifter. Yeah, we jacked up the transmission. It says park, but dash says we're in neutral because we messed with the shift cable. I'm gonna go down there and fix that real quick. I think I can fix it. So trans is in neutral. Car thinks it's park. There, that's park. Okay, now it sees park. Let's plug into ISTA. We have a laundry list of faults right now. Fuel injector activation, RDCs, bunch of undervoltage faults. The battery was dead and I got a warranted battery from O'Reilly recently. So I was jumping it and all types of stuff. So let's clear it out. I also have a new electrical buzz type noise. I don't know where it's coming from yet. It sounds down in here. I don't think this engine has an auxiliary water pump. I'm gonna poke around with the stethoscope, see if I can pinpoint it. Okay, the noise is for sure coming from the new used high pressure fuel pump. So we'll see what happens, see if it wants to run, but we'll address it soon. So faults are cleared and we just have an FRM fault, JBE and run flat detection. Nothing new. RDC transmitters, we have 0 DME faults, which is exactly what we're looking for. So let's close operation. Yeah, maybe the high pressure pump will quiet down once it gets moving. The thing probably hasn't seen life in a long time. Of course, I'm low on camera battery right now as we're literally about to crank this thing. Let's fill up the power steering bottle. The pump's still gonna yell at us once we start the car because it's gonna pull air and cavitate and it's gotta have to work some bubbles out. So I'll overfill the bottle for now. The cooling system pressure test is perfect. It's still at 16 PSI. Let's do the coolant bleed procedure and I'm gonna charge the camera real quick, okay? For coolant bleed, take a pocket screwdriver, lock the door. By turning over the door lock, you're basically just simulating the door is shut. If you wanna undo it, pull the handle, just like that. Okay, ignition on, engine off. Max heat, power level 1, foot to the floor, 10 seconds. I hear the pump. Having a battery tender for this can also be helpful. It does drain down quite a bit of battery. Take your radiator cap, put it on loose, because once this thing kicks on high, the stream is gonna hit your little float needle and it's gonna spray everywhere. All right, camera is charged, bleed procedure is done. I also took the oil filter out and I poured a little bit of engine oil into the oil filter housing just to kind of kickstart the prime. All right, let's say a quick little prayer. All right. Let's crank her over, see what happens. I'm not as excited as I should be. I think I've been going for like 9.5 hours today. It's after 7 o'clock, I've been going since 9. So going for 10 hours now, but let's crank her over, see how she sounds. Ready? Fingers crossed. Pretty good so far. Sounds pretty good. I'm gonna give the starter 20 seconds. Sounds a little chunky, but we'll go 2 more times. I'll open the oil cap, see if I can get oil, see if I'm getting oil up to the valve cover. Now it's sounding better. It's getting a little faster. I feel like things are lubricating up. I feel a sense of calmness that I'm just like, it is what it is. No matter what happens, it happens and it's all good. Like I could be, pooping my pants, but I feel very confident in the work that I did on this vehicle. I was very methodical. I torqued everything that needed to be torqued. I tried to do everything that I could. And doing all these repairs while the drivetrain was down, sitting on the subframe, I was able to be a lot more thorough than being in the vehicle. All right. Let's go plug it in and send it. Let's go take a look in the oil cap. Any puddles? No puddles. We got a Sage. What do you think, Sage? Is it gonna run? You think it's gonna run? I hope so. I hope so. Whether I succeed or I fail, thank you for coming along with me on this journey. Replacing this engine in my garage is the first time I've ever done a job like this on the channel, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the process, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video series. I'm feeling pretty confident, and I'm looking forward to tackling larger jobs like this in the garage in the future, because with the tools that I have and my desire to want to learn more, jobs like this are totally achievable. And a job like this is achievable for you too, if you have the right tools. All right, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coils are good. I don't know if cranking it with the fuel injectors and the coils unplugged is gonna cause like a reduced power malfunction when we do crank it over. I hope it doesn't. I don't wanna go into instant clear fault, so let's just send it now. We'll see what happens. I think you guys gotta be right there. Capture the expression. All right, here we go. The time has come. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Oh, smooth, dude. Literally not even a hiccup. Not even a hiccup. Wow, let's go check that power steering fluid. Perfect. A little bit of smoke cooking off. Holy cow. Belt looks good. Wow, guys. Just wow. She sounds perfect. Let's listen to the, I'm not getting fan spinning. She's idling silky smooth. Water pump's flowing. Good coolant level. She's idling perfect. I think we did a good job. I hope me pressure washing that fan didn't kill it. That would suck. She's running so good right now. No check engine light. It did have a misfire after one of those throttle blips, but it feels okay now. It cleaned up. She sounds so good. Oil level measurement is perfect. We did it, girl. We did it. We did it. We did it. We did it, dude. Let's put it up in the air and take a look underneath while it's running. All right, up front. Is that fan on yet? Why isn't the fan going, dude? The fan probably should have kicked on by now. Water pump T-stat look really good. Crank pulley looks perfect. Turbo drain line looks good. Drain plug's good. Flex plate torque converter doing their thing. Cats look nice and bone dry. Guys, this thing looks mint. Looks mint. Here's a listen at the tailpipe. Yeah, she's dialed. I'm not seeing any indicators of leaks or anything that would concern me. Really, really nice. I really want to drive it, but I feel like we should probably, that's got to be from the coolant bottle. It's directly below it. I feel like we should top the trans up. We did lose some trans fluid, but I really want to drive it. I got to finish up sway bar and intercooler plate, auto trans cooler to fan shroud. Also, I got to bring this thing down and command the cooling fan because I'm getting no movement out of that yet. So under vehicle management, troubleshooting, function structure, engine electronics, electric fan, ABL, which is the test plan for electric fan. Here's our test plan. No faults. Relay installed, yes. Functional check of electric fan, continue, and activation for 20 seconds. She's ripping. I got the front wheels on, the strut braces, the sway bar, the intercooler cover. I do not have a single nut or bolt left. Tire pressures are set. Let's have a drink and celebrate. Now I'm going to drive this car tonight, no matter what. I have to take it on and test drive. But I think the trans is low. When I separated the transmission from the engine, the torque converter stayed stuck to the flex plate and it didn't spill fluid. So I have all the supplies in the trunk to do a trans service and I don't really want to waste the fluid, but let's run the car, put it up, top off the trans fluid and take this thing out on the road. Oh, that is so good. I'm gonna run through the gears. I also called my buddy Mario, and he says his N54 takes a really long time for the E fan to kick on. I activated it, it's working. I'm not gonna worry about it. All right, I got one bottle of CF6 I can spare. Oh, come on now. How am I supposed to get you out? Hopefully I can squeeze an Allen key up there. All right, I can. Allen key and vice grips. We want between 30 and 50 degrees Celsius. Trans is reading 36.8 degrees Celsius. That is fine. Oh, great. Now my Allen key's stuck. No way this thing's gonna be full. Might not even be full after one bottle, but we're gonna run it. Man, hey, it is full. Oh, let's put a little, looks terrible. Looks like brown poo-poo water. Should have brought a rag with me down here. Well, we'll be doing a full trans service on this thing in the next 2 weeks. Ugh, gotta go get some dinner now. Now it's almost been 12 hours since I've been in the garage today. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, she sounds so good. Seat warmers?
Yes, please.
Okay. Wish me luck. She runs so good.
Yeah.
It fired up perfect. Like, it's perfectly still. It almost feels like the engine isn't even, if you couldn't hear it, you wouldn't be able to feel the engine. Oh, that was it blowing off. Whoa, that was loud.
What was that?
I don't know. Of course I hit a bug right with my fresh glass. She drives good though. I don't know why the turbo was so loud there. I think I forgot to tighten the hose clamps to the air box. No check engine light, so that's all that matters. We're good. Let's see. No, the air intake is on. I didn't tighten the clamps for the air box. Diverter valve. Yeah, it popped the diverter valve off. I found it. Dang, I'm good. Let me see if I can lock it. Come over here and maybe I can get some light from you. Oh, I got it. Yep, it was this little pipe right here. So we did have a little bit of a boost leak. Airbox is fine. I need to tighten the clamps for the airbox, but she good. Fixed it. Let's get dinner. Camera lady forgot to press record while I was explaining that we blew off a diverter valve on our way down to get dinner, which the diverter valve connects to the charge pipe right before the throttle body. We gave the engine boost. I forgot to turn the lock and it blew the diverter valve out. That's why we were hearing all that noise. So yes, we did have a boost leak, but I was able to sneak my hand in there pre-cheeseburger and Cobb salad. We got it fixed and the car is pulling and she is strong and she is fast and she's driving perfect. So we're back from a couple mile road test, maybe about 7 miles, and pulling into the garage now, and I will see you folks tomorrow for a proper road test with some proper mileage and some proper pulls. So next morning, boy, this thing drove so nice. Besides blowing off one of these diverter valve connections on my way to get dinner, it drove perfect. So we're gonna put some serious miles on it today. I started to get a little sloppy last night, slapping the airbox in and stuff like that. So I got 2 hose clamps on the airbox I need to snug up. And then we need to go down below and tighten up the bracket for the catalytic converters to the transmission. I forgot to do those after getting the exhaust fitted. And then we're gonna go put some serious miles on this thing. Coolant's perfect. Power steering looks perfect. Let's take a look at the bottom side of this thing. Yeah, that's got to be trans fluid from the torque converter deal. For sure trans fluid, but we'll spray that out with some brake cleaner real quick. A little wet over here at the power steering area, but we did spill quite a bit of fluid yesterday. I'll double check the hoses at the reservoir, make sure everything looks all good over there, but all that muck up there on the unibody was there before we did the engine swap. We leaked over there pretty good. That there is going to be from the bell housing too, for sure. Looking good. Spray out the bell housing, torque up these nuts right there. Those are the ones that I need to do. about 10 miles on her. She's driving really good. Let's give her a couple pulls and get back to the barn. Man, I need this AC recharged. It is hot in here and it's blowing hot air. This car goes way too fast, way too easy. We did it. Well, I think it's safe to say that the E90 engine replacement series is a wrap. If you enjoyed this series, you're gonna enjoy the rest of my content. Be sure to check out the Fix and Give series where you can win a fully restored BMW E46 convertible when I am done. What's next to come on the E90, we're gonna do a full transmission service. We're gonna slap on a fresh set of Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06s. We're gonna do some diagnosis of the adaptive headlights, fix the run flat indicator, and then we're gonna put this thing on the market. So if you're interested in this car, having being fully dialed in, I'm gonna make a build video, go over all the pros, all the cons of the vehicle, and you guys can let me know if you're interested and make me an offer on the car, because I need to make some room, because I have a future project coming into the shop here real soon. I hope you enjoyed, or I hope you learned something new, and as always, folks, I'll see you on my next day off. Cheers.